Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I am your host, Son X, and today we have, they say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same, the analyst and expert of the New York Islanders. I was close. I was close to that time, you have to admit. And then we have TJ.
NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
I'm just going to call you the rules and analyst expert from now on. Like you're the referee guy.
Oh, my God.
And then we have TJ.
What a rousing introduction there, Son X.
What can I say? I try my best.
Okay. So what are we talking about today, X? Now, first of all, let's get into some nuts and bolts on what people need to do.
Oh, you guys need to like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and then I think there's something else, right?
Is that it? Damn trow around here. Remember, if you enjoy the content, you like the content that we produce, there's a few ways to support us. Number one, making sure you subscribe on YouTube, right? You get the little bing notification anytime that we go live. If you like the video, it helps juice the algorithm. It helps get this live stream and this podcast out to the masses. And it lets myself, Grumpy, and Senex know that you like the content that we create. So the best way to support us is by subscribing on YouTube and liking the video. Other ways that you can go ahead and follow us. We do also have Twitter that we use much more often than we do Facebook, but you can follow us on Twitter there too at Islanders Never Say Die podcast. You'll find us on Twitter. It's, I think, a link somewhere in the description below. But there's also a secondary podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's where Son X and Grumpy talk anything and everything sports. So that's things like NHL. That's things like NBA. That's things like MLB. That's literally anything and everything sports on that show. You can find that in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
That's right. All that stuff that you just said tenfold. Alrighty, so the remainder of the draft. What are our thoughts?
Is that how you really want to start?
That's how we're starting it out, Grump. We need your thoughts. Hey, you are the analyst and expert, the NHL analyst and expert. We need your thoughts.
Because I'm still part of this show for this episode. I'll kind of guide us through what we're going to talk about here. Okay, Tyrant TJ is still going to be around. All right. Since last night, they interviewed Matthew Darsh. They got his opinion on things. They got some intel. Well, he was trying to do everything he could to trade to get Hagens, but the price was too much, and it takes two people to make a deal. I'm going to be honest with you. You had multiple different teams that said, not interested in this. And think about it. You were trying at number 4, 5, 6, and 7 to try to make that deal happen. Obviously, you didn't value James Hagens as much as what the asking price was, and I could not imagine the asking price being that steep and that severe. in this draft class season. Just couldn't. And I'm happy Matthew Darsh did not succumb or subdue to, the pressure by ownership to pick James Hagens. Happy with that. But there have been some updates. There have been some talking points on Islanders Twitter, across the Islanders sphere, Grumpy Old Man and Son X, about about the draft. Darsh came out and he said this. This is reported by Stefan Rosner, Andrew Gross, everybody. He said they're not doing a rebuild despite what happened today. So I guess that's our first topic of discussion. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the draft picks that we had. That's the biggest item, and I think the item to discuss here today. Darsh said not doing a rebuild. Grumpy X, what are your takes?
For me, when you're trading a foundational piece like Noah Dobson, let's be honest, one of your top, any way you slice it, top 4 players on the team, because you don't want to pay him the money that he's asking for in a contract, and particularly with the state of where this team is, you're absolutely in a rebuild. I know they don't want to say that, but they should not be ashamed of it. I mean, you didn't take those picks and parlay them into players.
That's exactly.
You went with draft picks. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a smart thing. I reiterate what TJ said. I didn't want James Hagens because I'm afraid you just give up too many assets. This team is not in position to move futures at this point in time. They're just not. And to me, this summer, this draft and next year's draft are pivotal to the future direction of the Islanders. I thought they did really well in this draft. I thought we saw certain things in this draft that league-wide, honestly. And the Islanders certainly were in that boat as well. Just looking at getting bigger players, right? It's a copycat league. They see what Florida's done, how they're able to outmuscle a team like Edmonton, like Toronto, like Carolina, who's certainly more skilled, have more skilled players than they do, but they were able to inflict their will by players that had drive and competitiveness. And everyone that the Islanders drafted has those characteristics. I have no problem with that. Too many fat cats on this team as it is. I want guys who are going to go out there and, hey, we're going to run through a wall for you. Those are the type of guys that every hockey team should want. And you're looking at the size of players. Guys who are of smaller stature dropped in this draft. Everyone's going for bigger players. Everything is cyclical, right? But what you see in the playoffs is physicality still rules in the NHL. And the Islanders, in my opinion, had a great draft this year. And do you have any thoughts on that subject at all?
Yeah, no, I agree that they're definitely in rebuild mode. If they really were not in rebuild mode, they would have tried to trade him for a player as opposed to picks. Or they would have tried to parlay those picks into a better player.
Right. And maybe nobody was moving anybody, but I think that what they wound up doing by using those 2 first-round picks, and just look at the size of guys. They picked players almost to a man who were maybe they slipped a little bit or dropped a little bit, or who are more highly regarded than they have in the past. In the past, the Islanders would pick guys way off the board. And how's that worked out for them? It's like you want to go for the players that are rated the highest. I don't know what the scouting staff did differently this year, but I'm all for it. So yep. I don't know if it's Lamarillo's not there and they're just looking, and maybe Darsh was saying this is kind of what we're emphasizing this year. I don't know, but I was pleasantly surprised with who they picked this year. I think they had the best draft in the NHL.
I was just going to ask, do we think management is coming out and saying that they're not doing a rebuild to try and not affect ticket sales?
Good question. TJ?
Yeah, well, because we're going to hammer it a little bit home more. To answer your question, I don't know why they're saying that. I think there's a connotation associated with rebuild, restructure, retool. And it's like, for whatever reason, Islander fans, it's like they got battered women syndrome. When they hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to enter a situation where we're going to be in a spot where we're rebuilding for another 10 or 15 years. It's just like they get back to that where it's like, oh man, it's going to be back in that situation again. And in reality, you can't blame a prior team and a prior management group's inadequacies and failure in a rebuild and say it's going to be the same restructuring, rebuilding, retooling. I don't give a shit what you call it. You can't look at prior failures and say that's going to be the same under new organization management and new administration work. Now, this is what I wanted to put up here.
I just wanted to say one more thing. I think what you were saying, though, people, associate rebuild with tough times ahead. So that was my thought process as to why they're not saying that it's a rebuild, is they don't want people thinking, oh, the team's going to be terrible for the next 3 or 4 years before it gets better.
The fan base is allergic to that word. They just are. And it's what's in the best interest of the team. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. Like when you look at this quote from Matthew Darche, now we could say this, right? I'll read the quote and then we'll go over what actually happened today. This is asked on, what his plans for day 2 were after successful day 1. If I have opportunities, I have no reservation on using those picks or next year's picks to try to get a player. If I can get a good player that can help us this year or beyond, I'll do it. In this job, you can have the best plan, but things change in our business. Like I said before, like even during a season, players overachieve, players underachieve. So you have to stay nimble. You have to be able to adjust. So we adjusted this week by making this trade, and we picked the players tonight. And tomorrow we'll have opportunities. My job is to look at them and to discuss it with our staff and make decisions. Now we could say after today's happened, didn't trade any picks for next year, didn't trade any picks for this year, despite this, this flowered up statement by him. And him saying we're not rebuilding. I don't care what he's calling it. I think it's just all semantics, restructuring, retooling, reimaging, rebuilding. You can call it whatever the hell you want. We have taken a step backwards for this year by trading away our number 1 defenseman and trading a guy who is top 10 in points for defensemen over the last 4 years in the entire NHL for draft picks. We used those draft picks and picked young players. We are restructuring, retooling, rebranding, rebuilding, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're taking steps backwards this year to take steps forward in the future. We traded away Brock Nelson at last year's trade deadline for a prospect and a pick. Guess what? That didn't help make our team better for right now. And you know what we're going to do at this year's deadline? We're going to trade away Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Anders Lee. That's not going to help make our team better right now. That's going to be taking steps backwards to then forward our progression as a team and as a franchise. You can call it whatever the hell you want. I'll call it a rebuild. People can call it whatever they want, but we are starting to restructure. We're taking a step back, then to take step forwards. And I'm happy with that, but he won't call it a rebuild. So, it's just semantics, I believe.
I don't care what they call it. The team is, again, there's really not much on the free agent market. It's like, if you're looking, you need someone to replace Noah Dobson's minutes. That's going to be absolutely impossible unless you want to overpay for somebody like Aaron Ekblad. It would be criminal if they try to go after somebody like Aaron Ekblad. He's 29 years old. He's battle weary. He's not coming to Long Island. He's not coming to play for the Islanders anyway. But they need to replace, like I said, Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson, regardless of what people think, I just listen to the hate for Noah Dobson. Oh, good riddance. Islander fans, like most sports teams fans, they don't think. They just react. And you just lost your best defenseman. And he, by far your best defenseman, who's playing, 23, 24 minutes a night, is the only offensive defenseman that you have, the only guy who can move the puck out of the zone. You lost that. So what does it say? Tony DeAngelo, right, is probably going to be re-signed. They need right shot defensemen. You're not going to sign Aaron Ekblad. They shouldn't sign Aaron Ekblad. I'm not opposed to bringing in Tony DeAngelo for 2 years. I'm not opposed to bringing back Mike Riley for a year, 1-year deals. That's it, though. You got to let these guys all come up through the system. It's going to take a few years before they come up and ready to play in the bigs. 2-3 years before these guys start coming up. But I like the direction. The change of direction has been needed by this organization for many years. They've finally done it. And I agree with you. Go ahead, X.
I was going to say, do you see Darche as somebody who would, ask or give out crazy contracts to guys, kind of like Lou used to do, or no?
Right now, I don't know. I don't know right now. I don't think he's had any input on anything that's been done, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the big thing real quick. When you talk about Romanoff, the rumor was today and by Cam Robinson, right, that they're heavy in the talks. They had multiple teams coming and confronting the Islanders about a potential trade for Romanoff. There's some chatter around an Alexander Romanoff extension could be here. Heard some teams have inquired about trading for him, but the return would have needed to be significant for the New York Islanders to pull the trigger. I just am blown away by that. The defensive defenseman who's always positionally unsound, who puts up no points, would need to have a significant return to be traded is just comical, in my opinion.
Okay. Look at the current defense situation on the New York Islanders. You're going to have Matthew Schaefer, who, if he's not your number one left shot defenseman, he'll be your number two to start. Adam Pelech is either going to be number one or number two. And then you have Romanoff. You don't overpay for a guy like Romanoff. You have Mike Riley in the system. You have Isaiah George in the system. You don't want to pay a bottom pairing defenseman big money, big term. It's just foolish. They did the same thing with Scott Mayfield. The money wasn't huge, but without a doubt, the term was ridiculous, right? 7-year extension. He's a bottom pairing guy. He found himself on the bench a lot of nights under Patrick Waugh. You have to be smart when you're looking at your restricted free agents. I'd say Alexander Romanoff, okay, what was he making? $2 million per on this current deal?
Yes.
All right. We'll give you a 5-year extension at $4 million per. And if he says no, you move him.
Yep.
That's my way of thinking. I'm not overpaying for a guy who's going to be playing on the bottom pair within a year and a half.
That's what I'm concerned with, is they're going to overpay Romanoff with more term. And it's because it's like, oh, yeah, Dobson. Oh, man, Dobson this, Dobson that. The Islander fans, the hatred for that young man is just, it's mind-numbing to me. I'll never get it. I'll never understand it. It's like the same thing, like they have a hatred. Like if Matt Barzal was healthy this year, the hatred for Matthew Barzal would be astronomical. It's like the hatred for Sorokin. It's the same thing. This fan base, like a lot of fan bases, when we're not winning a lot of games, who's the easiest person to hate? Or the person who's the best on the team, because we're expecting them to be Superman. And it's like Sorokin. Think about how much hate and grief that Sorokin received last year. And this guy has been, when you look at the last 4 or 5 years as an altogether whole, he's been a top 5, top 10 goalie year in and year out. Maybe he has some years where he's better, some years where he struggles. He's a fantastic goalie. Dobson had a little bit of a down year last year. The year prior, he was getting Norris votes. I mean, like, you've got to relax a little bit. You've got to calm down. And it's like Matt Barzal. Oh, Matt Barzal goes through a little bit of culture. Oh, Matt Barzal, we need to see. It's just like, it's the fans. It's all the fans. I'm not sure it's all fan bases, but it's definitely the Islander fan base. It's like they get this irrational hatred towards the most talented, most skilled players on the team. And I never understand it, and I never will. I love all the people who are pointing the fingers really quickly about, oh, Dobson, oh, Montreal's going to find out real quick why we didn't want Dobson. You know what? I hope we're not eating our words. I hope those stupid fans who are saying that aren't eating their words, because I don't want to see him going to put up 50 to 70 points a season, year in and year out, and having postseason success for the Montreal Canadiens as we're sitting here with 2 middle first-round picks.
I think it has to do with disappointment with the fan base. I think a lot of fans for teams that struggle, they, think that, we have a really, really good player. We have so-and-so. They should be performing just as good as other teams are. It's like, I think of it kind of the same thing as Batman, the movie, where it's like, you're the hero for so long, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. They end up falling out on you. So. Right.
When you're a loser team, and the Islanders have been losers, honestly, for the last 35 years, right? Since Al Arbor was gone, they've been predominantly a loser team. And they get a little sniff of success when you make a couple of Eastern Conference finals in COVID-shortened seasons, and everyone thinks, oh, gosh, they're great. No, they're not, okay? But they had a nice system. Noah Dobson comes in, and, Noah Dobson can't play any defense. Yeah, okay. Again, those people don't actually look at the actual games. I firmly believe that. They do not look and watch games. Now, has Noah Dobson made errors defensively? Yeah, just like every freaking player in the league. Every single player. Connor McDavid made how many mistakes defensively in the final series against Florida?
Evan Bouchard made how many mistakes?
Evan Bouchard was Noah Dobson is infinitely better than Evan Bouchard. Infinitely better. Now, Evan Bouchard's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. And why is he going to pay? Because he puts up big points playing for Edmonton. He doesn't play any defense. He was a turnover machine against Florida. They put pressure on him. He just turned the puck over. And you know what? But that's the way every player is. Not every player is Nick Lidstrom or Zdeno Chara in his prime or Ray Bourque or Bobby Orr. They're just not. Okay? I mean, but if you were going to ask me, is Noah Dobson as good as Seth Jones? He absolutely is. Is Noah Dobson as good as Darnell Nurse? Absolutely is.
I think he's better than those two players. And that's the thing. Go ahead.
My point is that those guys aren't getting the hate because of the teams they play on.
I've always said this a million times. Defensemen who put up points get paid. I know people don't like to hear that. It's like it doesn't compute well with them or it doesn't sit well with them. He doesn't play any defense. Well, that's great. Really steady Eddie defensemen don't get paid. That's just the case in point. The defensemen who score a lot of points are the guys who get paid. That's the way the league's moving. Is more offensive-minded defensemen who can put up points. Those are the guys who get paid. It's that simple. Like Aaron. Okay.
And again, this show is not going to be about Noah Dobson.
Correct.
It's just not. It's a draft review show. So, as far as I'm concerned, Dobson's gone. We're moving on. We didn't get enough for Dobson. But with what we did get, I was pleasantly surprised with what the Islanders did with these draft picks, getting guys who were ranked usually higher or in the same range. They're not picking a Simon Holmes from the first round when he's a consensus late second round pick. They weren't reaching for guys. And every single guy has the same characteristics. They're dogs with a bone, as Victor Eklund said. He's a dog with a bone. You look at Etchison, same thing. You look at Matthew Schaefer. You look at Propanov. You look at all these guys. What do they all have? They all have the hunger to succeed. They're not underachievers. They're overachievers. Those are the type of guys that you win with in crunch time.
Yep. I'll just say one more thing. Like Erik Karlsson. Played no defense, had Norris trophies, but he got a huge contract before. It wasn't because he played defense. It wasn't why he got paid money. He won Norris trophies. It's not because he was good in his own zone. It's because he put up points. That's what people value when they're voting on the Norris. That's what people value when they give out contracts to defensemen. I do want to show the live reaction from inside UBS Coliseum, the fanfare when it was announced that James Hagens was
selected by Boston.
Yeah.
The Boston Bruins select out of Boston Valley. James Hagens, speedy playmaker, makes his line mates better. Boston College selected back there for year 2 this year. He's called for the Bruins at 7.
It's good. I mean, Hagens doesn't have to go far.
Turn on the merry-go-round.
When I pick out teams, I'm not playmaking and the
They're leaving. They're leaving. You know what that tells me? They're not New York Islander fans. Everyone who walked, they're losers. Every single one of them. And if you listen to James Hagen's interview, he's like, hey, and his dad, both of them, they're like, well, we're just glad that we wanted to a team that really wanted us. So in other words, what he's saying, the Islanders didn't want me bad enough. He's not going to succeed. I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to bust out. When you want to know why he wasn't drafted? Because that's his attitude. A sense of entitlement is his attitude. You don't see that in the Eklund kid. You don't see that in the Atchison kid. You don't see that in Schaefer for certain.
They're all grateful to be picked.
I mean, that's right. And here's the thing. Their whole thing is what's Schaefer? I mean, and he had really an emotional story. And, you talk about James Hagens, always from Hop Hog. Anyone who wants to draft somebody because they're from the area that the team is located, I'm sorry. I'm questioning your intellect, honestly.
You draft
because you don't draft somebody because of where he lives. You draft someone because of what he can bring for your team. You listen to the Schaefer kid. What did he say? Oh, hey, this is just the start. I got to get to work tomorrow. Those are the type of – that's leadership. That's what you want. You listen to the Atchison kid. You listen to the Eklund kid. Those guys aren't going to be playing in the NHL this year. But you know what? They're not the guys who are going to sit on their laurels. They weren't guys who were automatically deemed superstars all the time and felt, I'm entitled. These guys had to work hard. Same thing with the Provorov kid. This is what you want from your draft picks. And they got talent too.
I will say this about Hagens. I think for his dad, his family, I think they were kind of sipping the sauce a little bit and reading into the headlines. How many places did you see everywhere? Betting odds everywhere across the board was like, oh, Islanders are definitely going to be pinned in to trade up to draft Hagens. That's what we saw in everything over and over and over again. Well, here's the thing. The way you actually answer that question is, it's an emotional night. We're happy that James has been selected. We're happy to be with a real fantastic organization like the Boston Bruins, and we're ready to get to work. We can't wait to go ahead and to make our mark there in Boston and really fight, for Stanley Cups, something like that. Just keep it simple. I know you were upset you weren't drafted by the Islanders, and now you're carrying a little bit of chip on your shoulders like you're a jilted lover. Brother, first thing in professional sports, it's not personal, it's business. All that's business, guys.
It's very obvious that they were butthurt that he was not selected earlier.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't, again, just to draft someone because, and he dropped. Right? And maybe
which means, guess what? Multiple teams didn't value you as highly as you thought you were.
Because
multiple teams.
Because the reason is people draft centers. Now, he played center, but he's too small to play center in the NHL, and he doesn't have that type of fight. Yep. It's not his skill set. And I'm not putting him down. The kid is electric with the puck on his stick. He's a good skater. But you know what? What teams were looking for this year were bigger players who just have a will to succeed. I don't know if he has that. They asked him if he thought this year was a success. Oh, yeah, this was a really big success for me. Dude, your team didn't win anything, and you were just average by everybody's, you had an okay year playing on the top line on one of the biggest team in college. And I accomplished everything I wanted to this year. That's not the mindset I want to hear. I never want to hear that. And I wish the kid, all the best. I'm glad he's not with the Islanders, though. Absolutely, I'm glad he's not with the Islanders. If he would have fallen to 16, yes, you pick him. But I was not moving assets for him. The Islanders need as many assets in the next few years as they can possibly get. They've started towards rebuilding their farm system right now. They've started that. We don't know what these players are going to turn out to be, but going into it, this is probably one of the top 5 drafts in Islander history, top to bottom.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I think from the standpoint as to what you saw from the draft, I think there were a lot of the same type of character player we saw drafted is exactly right. Guys who are hungry, guys who want to make an impact. And you're right. It may be small things like that where it's like, oh, we're happy with the year we had. You didn't have success as a team at Boston College. You didn't have success as an individual. It's not like you did anything special this year. You're happy and content. That's like, it may seem small, it may seem insignificant, but you want guys who have the mentality of, well, we want to see better results. We're unhappy with what happened this last year. I'm hungry. I can't wait to get to the work. Like the Schaefer kid had the right mentality. Is exactly right. Okay,
perfect response.
Yep, that's what you want to hear. And even if they're lying, that's what you want to hear as an organization. Exactly. That's what you want your players saying, not like, hey, I'm content. I was happy with what happened this year. That you don't want to hear that.
And Hagens comes out and says, well, I've been really watching Boston games, for the most part all year anyway. I've been watching mostly their games. Well, okay, then you should be happy going to Boston.
You probably didn't even know what the team was.
He was a little butthurt that he didn't go to his hometown team. Oh, well, welcome to the real world, Sonny. Suck it up, Buttercup. Let's move on. Like I said, he's not part of the team. I don't give 2 shits about him. I'm happy with the guys we did get. I see a change in the direction of what we're drafting. Where, in the past, we're drafting guys who are third liners in the first round. That was not the case this year. We picked 2 defensemen, okay, and a skill forward who should be a top 6 guy when all is said and done. In William Eklund. I'm sorry, in Victor Eklund, William Eklund's brother. I couldn't have been more pleasantly happy. Then who did they draft today? Actually, are you going to put up all the draft picks?
Okay.
And we can just, I mean, I think it's fair to just take a look and see what we can see from
I can put them all up. This is Daniil Prokhorov. We'll just kind of go pick by pick, right? It says he plays the game like he's trying to leave a mark, literally.
Did we want to start with the first 3 picks?
We can go back and do that, sure.
Review, let's start from pick 1 and go all the way down. I think it's important.
Here's all of our selections.
Okay. And they don't have the sizes here. I mean, I'm sure we'll figure it out. But you look at Matthew Schaefer, right? 6'2", 185. 183.
Big kid.
Okay. 22 games this year, but the kid's electric, right?
17 games, 22 points, just to clarify.
Wow.
Absolutely electric player. Consensus number 1 pick. Period. He was in the tier all by himself.
Elite. Not only is he great on the ice, he's a leader off the ice. He has the right mentality. This is everything you want in the quintessential number 1 overall selection. Could not be happier with this pick. It was almost a screw-up proof selection, and I'm just happy we didn't try to outsmart ourselves, and this is absolutely the right pick. This is a fantastic selection by the Islanders here.
And I want to give kudos to the Islander organization. They had a jersey prepared specifically for him. They knew they were picking him. So they had the
cancer ribbon,
the breast cancer awareness ribbon with his mom's initials on there. And that's a really nice touch by the organization. It shows they care about the kid as a person, which is really, really important. We've never questioned the organization and how they feel about players, sometimes to a fault. But they do those things so well. The Islanders do those things so well, maybe better than any team in the league, honestly. They know how to do a tribute. They know how to tug at the heartstrings. And I don't think they do that on purpose. I just think they're just really good at it. I like I said, you can't do anything worse than Schaefer. Are we going to read the brief write-up on him? I mean, I can pull that information up. Schaefer, he controls the game from the back end, making the play flow through him. An elite pass rusher. He takes off from behind the net, using it as a shield against the forecheck, and traverses the defensive zone with a few long strides. He spots teammates in every direction, making both one-touch plays and elaborate deceptive feeds, attacking down. He grabs the spotlight and draws opponents towards him before turning and relaying the puck across. He says he compares himself to Cale Makar, was the first name I mentioned. I said he reminds me of Cale Makar. A cross between Makar and Heiskanen. And, I mean, those are 2 of the top 5 defensemen in the league overall, you would say?
I'm not sure Heiskanen's there, I think Makar offensively absolutely dynamic.
He's better than Makar defensively. Absolutely, he's better than Makar.
Well, that's the thing.
When I say better than Makar defensively, I'm saying at this stage. I don't think Makar plays much defense at all. This kid absolutely does.
Makar plays 0 defense, but that's my thing. Like, Makar gets considered a top 5 defenseman in the NHL, plays no defense, wins no puck battles, wins nothing down low in front of the net because he's small and undersized, but he's so fantastic on the puck and he's so great in transition. He allows you to very easily convert a defensive a chance against you defensively into an offensive opportunity that he just is a game changer that way. So like Makar, fantastic, right? Top 5 defenseman, no defense played. I think Schaefer probably is more defensive oriented and minded than a guy like Makar. Do we expect him to have the same exact offensive output as Makar? No. I mean, like, that's just a silly expectation.
He's not playing with Gabe Landeskog and Nate McKinnon and all these other guys. He's just not. And he doesn't have a partner like, Devon Taves on the other side. That's why I always found it laughable with Dobson. I never cared what people thought. But like I said, Dobson's gone. I've moved on from him already. I thought they did not get as much as they could have gotten for him. But for what they did get, and I don't consider Heinonen, I don't consider him anything. Bottom 6 guy, we have plenty of those. But we did as good as we could with who we drafted. So that's the positive. And then people say, well, it gives you $9.5 million more cap space. No, it doesn't. It just means that you just have, whatever it is, the $20 million that you have left, and you're not spending any on him. But who out there is worth that money? Are you going to overpay your UFAs? Are you going to say, oh, Simon Holmstrom, let's give you, instead of giving you $3 million per, we'll give you $4 million per. That's how you get yourself back in trouble. You should save as much money as possible. So if a deal does come through where you can maybe acquire a draft pick to do for a salary dump from some other team, that's what you save that money for. And I'll be interested to see what direction they go.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out there a little bit at the end. But I'll say this, like for a guy like Schaefer, exactly what you want. And I'll just echo, you don't want to overpay because now you have available cash space where it's like, great, exactly as you mentioned. I want to give another $500,000. Oh, yeah, sure, he's asking for it. Okay, we think that's got to be done. Okay, God. I don't think people are like Nikolai Ehlers. Oh, Nikolai Ehlers. Oh, go after Nikolai Ehlers.
No.
Guys, I think, and again, I don't care what Darsh is saying right now. You're going to see it to be true. We're going to take a step backwards to go forwards. I think he's not going to say, hey, we don't want to be competitive. I don't know any GM who's ever walked in his first day on the job and says, hey, we think this team is a lot worse than it actually is. We're not competitive at all, and we want to blow it up from scratch. No GM ever says that.
Okay.
So,
look at it this way. If you were thinking that this team was a contender and we're just, a piece or two away from the playoffs, why would you have gotten rid of Lou Lamoriello? You get rid of your general manager because you want to change the direction of the team. If the team was, we should have made the playoffs last year, then why did you get rid of Lou Lamoriello? He didn't coach the team. You had some injuries. You would have kept him. You realized that the team needed a change of direction. You needed to reboot, rebuild, retool, whatever, start over from ground zero, however you want to do it. To me, every player on this team is available. Every single player. There's when you let go of a top 5 right shot defenseman in the NHL at 25 years old, the flags are up. Okay, we're moving on from this group.
You trade away Dobson, and you're listening to trade offers on Alexander Romanov when they're calling up. If you were thinking we're a team that's competing, you're saying, no, we're not even entertaining an opportunity to trade Romanov because we're that close. The only reason we traded him was because we couldn't get X, Y, and Z done. You wouldn't even entertain a conversation about Romanov, but you did with every single team that called, and you had a price in mind for him. Guess what? They understand that they're restructuring, rebranding, retooling, rebuilding, whatever the hell they want to call it, but they would not have listened to trade offers on Romanov if they were planning on still being a competitor this year. They wouldn't have traded away Dobson if they still plan on being a competitor this year. Just think about that. Logically think about it. They wouldn't have said, we could exit, depending if this team gives us enough draft picks, we can exit this NHL draft without 2 of our top 4 defensemen. They wouldn't have done that. So I just think about it through rationally, please.
They would have made additions as opposed to trading away players that they had.
Yes, and people were so antsy about that comment last night. Oh, man, this shows that they're not going through a rebuild. He's looking maybe to trade away some picks to make us better. Well, guess what? When all is said and done, no picks were traded. We drafted all of our players, and we didn't add any players. Let's see how things look on July 1. Oh, let's see how things look July 1. What I don't want to see us do is make a reactionary move to try to just throw money at somebody to fill a vacant spot with too much term and too much of a cap hit because we've got an empty spot to fill. Like, we're like, oh, we need a top six forward. We need a legit top 6 forward. We need a legit right-handed defenseman. Oh, there's a lot of things we can do. We're going to address them during free agency. We're taking a step backwards this next year, guys. Just prepare for that. I don't care what Darsh says. And we're trading away guys on expiring deals at the deadline. And we're going to use those draft picks to draft players. So get prepared for that, guys. This is a whatever.
Suck for the lottery.
Yes. Now we're going to talk about Victor Eklund. He was the guy who slipped quite a bit. And again,
well, he was. People were saying he was going to go certainly top 10, like 8 or 9 at the latest, and he winds up going 16. And I thought he was a no-brainer at that particular point. His size, I think he's 5'11", 165, 161. That's slight. Okay, he needs to get bigger. That's fine. But what do we like about him? Again, they're saying, okay, who does he compare to? That's the whole thing. Who do these guys compare to with, their NHL comparisons? And I read an Athletic article where they call him a cross between Travis Konechny and Jonathan Marchessault. I mean, I think if that's the type of player you're getting, you're going to be very, very happy with him and getting him as a guy who can play in your top six, right? Here's a elite prospects write up on him, employing a relentless, never-ending motor and highly impressive contact skills. Eklund suffocates defenders with his pace, outraces them for pucks and on retrievals, and wins the war for body positioning by cutting them at their hands. He's also a very capable offensive creator who gets a lot of looks from the slot and the net front areas due to his dogged style, as well as showcasing skill and finesse as a playmaker. He's particularly gifted at playing below the goal line, combining the forechecking prowess with playmaking vision to turn steals into chances with clever feeds into the slot.
He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
And he's a lighter guy. He's a smaller guy. He played in the Division II in the Swedish league. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. He's going to be he needs to put on at least 20 pounds.
He had a good international career too, which is important. He played well on the big stage, which definitely helps or decreases where you're going to be drafted. His brother, right? Like his brother, William Eklund, again, another guy, he has the pedigree. You like to see that. You like to see that they're always competing. You like to see that they're, where they are. And he's played well there for San Jose. This is a selection when he falls like this, I have no problem at all thinking, okay, this is a guy who's going to be at least 3, maybe 4 years away. He's going to be playing in Sweden for a few years, and then he's going to be playing in the AHL for a few years. This is why it is crucial and pertinent, and I'm glad that they did this early. They got rid of the AHL head coach, AHL coaching staff, and they're starting to turn that over. So that's where I feel like a lot of focus is going to be here going forward. They're going to have some players that you need to really develop that could become real NHLers that are going to be going through your minor league system, through your AHL affiliate. You need to make sure that there's no funny business, no shenanigans, and no shithousery that's going on there. So again, Eklund fell. He's not afraid to go to the dirty areas for being as small as he is. I love that. He's got a quick wrister. He's good with his vision. He's good at waiting. He just has a great hockey IQ too. I like him. I love that selection there for Eklund.
And again, when you look at these guys, all we look at are their highlights, right? And as we mentioned yesterday, I'm going to bet you not one Islander fan has watched, multiple games of the Swedish Division II league. It's just not true. So what do you look for in highlights? You look at little traits or things that translate. It's like, okay, how do you handle the puck? What's your shot like? Because he's got a lethal shot too, right? Or what's the vision like? What's his edge work like? Is he throwing the body? Because if he doesn't throw the body, you're going to see it on the tape. They're not going to show any body checking. They're going to show the guys get to the front of the net. So, and you're able to see that from him, the vision, the passing skill. I mean, excellent selection by them where it was.
Yeah, and the pick right after that was also owned by the Islanders, Kayshawn Atkinson on that side. Again, one of the older guys in this year's draft. So when I see this, I see the defensive numbers. Oh, wow, how could he slip to 17, 59 points in 64 games as a defenseman who's ultra physical? He's a guy who is probably more of a defensive first defenseman when you look at where he's probably projected to be. Again, worth it taking it with a grain of salt. He does have some offensive upside. When we were watching his game film yesterday, again, good patience. Good job of reading the ice as well. This is a young man who he'll need to learn a little bit of restraint when he's trying to lay a hit and a bone-crushing body check, but the physicality is absolutely there. And this is what you're going to notice with a few of the picks going forward. Big physical players that they're going to try to go ahead and command the ice with. And this is a guy who's a big physical defenseman who shows signs that he can do a little bit more than just lay the body check and be a big physical guy. And that's what you're looking for as a defenseman in the middle of the first round. So could you have picked a different guy? Sure. But I think you know exactly what you're looking for in a guy like this. You're not looking for a guy who's going to put up points in droves. You're looking for a defensive first guy who's going to lay the hit, intimidate, clear out the front of the net. That's what they're looking for in a guy like Kayshawn Atkinson.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, so do I. And he stands up for his teammates, not afraid to mix it up. He's going to have to learn to tone it down a little bit, and he will with time. He will. He compares himself to Charlie McAvoy. That's who he says his comp is. And I could see that. a physical defenseman who plays solid defense in his back end, throws the body, and makes people know that he's there. Scott Wheeler from The Athletic calls him a cross between Brandon Montour and Matt Dumba. I think those are pretty good comparisons right there, right? Like I said, again, another guy who's got a lot of dog in him. You can't go wrong with guys like that. Well, just go ahead, TJ.
Anything that you're trying to go ahead and round out to make your game better, you don't have to worry about, is this guy in the right mindset? Is he going to be a guy who, has the right mindset to be successful, right? And I think that, when we transition going and looking at our second round pick, I'm not upset with Daniil Prokhorov. I wish we would have picked somebody else there too, which we'll get to in a second. But I wonder, if that was just kind of a no-go, no starter. We selected Daniil Prokhorov on that side. And again, another big forward, 6'5", 209 pounds. Again, playing in that second tier Russian league there on that side, potted a few goals as well. But big physical forward is who we select.
And he got better as the year went on. And he closed with a flourish, right? So when you got somebody closing like that, okay, maybe there's something about him, right? That was the big thing. I mean, like I said, I didn't want to get rid of Atchison so quick. They consider him like a throwback defender. Loves he's hyper competitive defender, doesn't back down from physical play. And this is Corey Proman, also from The Athletic, his write up on him. He won't run a power play. They don't need him to do that. But he can have secondary offense in the NHL. That's what you want. So he can and he had 26 goals this year in the OHL. I mean, that's a lot. It's not like he's a 3-goal-a-year guy. I just think it was a fantastic deal. And then you brought up Daniil Prokhorov. He's 6'6", 218. Pronman sees him as a middle-of-the-lineup player. Has to work on his skating. A lot of guys who are that big have to work on their skating, right? His puck skills, he says, are average. His hockey sense is below NHL average. Okay, you either have that or you don't. But compete is high end. That is so important. I mean, so what do you look? He's probably a bottom 6 guy when all is said and done, right? Maybe he develops into something else. But he was drafted 42. Scott Wheeler had him like in his top 25. So, I mean, he's not the guy I would have drafted. And TJ, you can touch on him in a second.
Yeah.
But I just think that he did trend up significantly at the end of the season. And had a great performance at Russia's U18 team. He's a huge winger with really good hands, and he makes skilled plays in open ice at full speed traffic. He's very physical as a forward and uses his body. With a big guy, you want guys who know how to use their body. It's so important.
Really raw is what he gets a notice for. He's going to be multiple years away. This is a 4-5 year away type guy. He's so big. This is a guy who's maybe getting to the NHL when he's 22, 23 years old. And he's probably a bottom 6 guy. But again, I'm not upset with the selection there. I would have.
You wanted someone else.
Ivan Yumkin, which is the guy we talked about last night, is the guy who I probably would have been favoring a little bit more at that selection, right? Like we talked about him right before we ended the show, or kind of towards the tail end. This is a young man who was penciled in going into the season, going to be a top 5 selection, no doubt about it. He had better numbers than Demidov in the MHL the year prior, the same exact year. He had better numbers than Chirashev. He was like, oh man, this guy, no doubt about it, top 5 selection. He had a little bit of issue in Russia this year. He went to the combine out of shape, fat, out of shape, and didn't interview well. And it's crazy how quickly that tanks you from being a guy who's supposed to be a top 5 pick at the beginning of the season to where he slides all the way to number 62, where, what a shock, the Carolina Hurricanes select a real valuable star player late in the second round and say, we're going to throw a pick at him. If he pans out, great. If he doesn't, that's no big deal, because they have this approach of accumulating a mass amount of draft picks every single year, trading back, and then finding these value selection players, kind of the same way the Islanders did in the first round, but finding these value selection players like Ivan Renyumkin. And that was the guy who I wanted in the second round more than Prokhorov.
And I agree with you. I'm always looking for skill first and foremost. But Prokhorov, they say, is going to be a coach's favorite. If he's a guy who can create chances on your third line, I don't have a problem with it, particularly if he can improve on the defensive end. I will say about Ryabkin, I'm going to bet you, just looking at who the Islanders drafted, he wasn't even on their board. Just looking at that the traits that they valued in this year's draft, I bet he wasn't even on their board.
I agree with you. It's just like at a certain point, and I'm not a guy who, hey, talent over everything, but at a certain point when a guy like this who's ultra talented continues to drop, you maybe roll the dice on him. And like in the second round, in my opinion, that's where it's like I'm considering rolling the dice on a kid like this. But yes, I do agree. That's probably not even the guy with the type of young men that we drafted today that we were even concerned or envisioned. He could have maybe made it to the seventh round, and that was not a guy that probably agreed with our philosophy going forward of how we're going to draft young men.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, okay, we didn't get him, but the Prokhorov kid looks like he could have upside. Not everybody plays in your top six, okay? But as long as you can see a role for somebody like that going forward, somebody who fits in, again, the compete is the highest level. That's what you cannot go wrong. You cannot teach drive and determination. You just can't. You either have it or you don't. Those guys are not going to frustrate night after night. And our third round pick was Luca Romano, 5'11", 177, a smaller right shot defenseman from Toronto, played for the Kitchener Rangers, had 51 points in 67.
Real quick, he's a center, Grumpy. He's not a defenseman.
I'm sorry. Did I say defenseman? I'm sorry. I meant center. And I was reading it right up the page. So maybe I have my dyslexic skills, or maybe I just don't even know what the hell the words are saying at all. CENTAR, defenseman. Okay, there we go. Yeah, he was a center, 5'11", 177. He was certainly better his second year at Kitchener than he was his first. Had 51 points and 25 goals in 67 games. They did have a write-up on him. Again, this is Pronman's breaking down. He gave the Islanders an A+ on their draft. So you're not going to get a better review than you're going to find from him. And a lot of people said the Islanders had A+. I very rarely give out A+. I probably give him an A. I'll give him an A+. What the hell? They're my team, right? No problem there. But they say his skating is NHL average. Matter of fact, his skating, puck skills, hockey sense are NHL average. His compete is above NHL average. Once again, compete. And his shot is above NHL average. And they said that he was on a good Kitchener team, and he played a notable role on Canada's U18 team as well. But even though his pure production wasn't the best, he has a lot of speed and skill. He often beats opponents with his stick handling and shows a lot of imagination with the puck. He also has a good shot and can finish from range. He has talent when he's playing a direct, hard style of play. He can be a very effective player. He was inconsistent this season, though. It's hard to vouch for a winger his size who didn't score big numbers in the juniors. But Romano looks the part, and with development, I could see him as become an NHL player. Okay, this is where Bridgeport and the new coach in particular have to pay dividends, developing a player like this. In the past, the Bridgeport has not been able to develop any players coming into the league, not a one. I mean, it's imperative with the guys that they've brought in that you see talent level with. You must develop those guys. And then, you could be cooking with gas if you can develop some players in the minor leagues, which I have not been able to do in recent years.
Fast and speedy, right? You can't teach speed. You can teach a guy and again, this is a guy who kind of doesn't like to mix it up in the rough areas. Not every player is going to be like that, though, right? This is your fast, speedy, skilled, potential high motor guy that you want to have. It could be a middle six guy. in the third round. That's what you like. And again, he's a transition forward first and foremost. He can catch the puck in his zone and take it all the way from the offensive, all the way in the offensive end, out racing defenders and dangling under sticks. He's got good stick handling. When we watch his clip, very good stick handling, a good release on the shot too. Once he breaks in, Romano cuts inside, kicking pucks wide to teammates and driving to the net and firing while keeping his feet moving. He fights for rebounds along the walls, displaying advanced physical abilities that enable him to win battles despite his average size. Now, again, he's not a guy who went to the rough areas often. Maybe he won battles, but I remember that was the big knock on him. He wasn't going to the rough areas probably as much as he should at times. So
high level compete. Another guy, high level compete. You're not seeing somebody says, oh, brings it some nights, doesn't bring it other nights. They didn't draft any of those guys. It's like they went in, we want to be tougher to play against. You could say the Islanders have not been tough to play against the last couple of years. This is a step in that direction, and it doesn't come overnight. Just doesn't.
The high level of compete is what wins you championships.
That's right.
See teams do it all the time.
Absolutely. And the next was a left wing, Tomas Poltin, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's a big boy from the Czech Republic, a left wing, picked number 106 overall in the fourth round. He had no points, but that doesn't mean that people didn't like him. Again, you're playing in the adult league, right? Oh, he played, I think he's an overager. Is he not? No, maybe he's not. He's 18. Okay, he's 18. My bad.
Okay, real quick, Grumpy. He played some of the year in the Finnish Elite League and some of the year not. So that's the thing. He played in the he played the under 20s. He played in the Finnish Elite League too. In the Finnish Elite League, he came up with 0 points, but when he was playing in the under 20s team in 25 games, he had 13 goals, 7 assists, and 20 points. He played a few games he played one game in the under 18, under 18 Finnish League. He played one game, had 3 points. So again, you'll see for a lot of these guys who are Europeans, again, and they're playing in the Finnish Elite League, very rarely do they immediately start playing in the Finnish Elite League their first season, the draft class year. But he played a few games there. He had obviously success playing against, people around more his age. But this is a guy who's going to be many years away developmentally as well. And he had, he played in the World Juniors as well, and he was the captain for the Czech Republic.
Leader.
And Pronman has a write-up on him. His skating and his puck skills are NHL average. His hockey sense below NHL average. But his compete is high end. Again, high end, right? They said he didn't light it up in the Finnish league, but he was an important part of the top team at that level. He, like I said, he was a leader for the Czechia's U18 team. His game won't generate many highlights, but he checks a lot of boxes. He's an NHL level skater who competes hard and can create offense. He has decent hands and visions and can make skilled plays, but he tries and creates chances in a direct way to get to the net. So he's not going to be dancing around out there. He's going to the net, right? Sounds like a fourth liner to me. He endears himself to coaches with his two-way details and work ethic and could potentially be a fourth line center. I have no problem with that at this particular point in the draft. And again, when you have a whole bunch of guys who you come in and they're all high compete guys, what does that do for the rest of the organization, whoever they play against, whoever they're in competition with?
Guess what? It's no longer the country club mentality. It's no longer the cul-de-sac crew. We're fighting for spots. We're fighting for jobs. We have competition here, guys. We're professionals. You need to start acting like it. There's every single year somebody can usurp you and take your job, but that sort of competition is going to drive and allow these players to strive for excellence. And I like that in bottom six roles. You have to have guys who are bottom sixers, and that's a guy where if he's like a Cal Clutterbuck where he plays 600, 700, 800 games, however many games he played, that's what you want when you're drafting fourth in the fifth round. That's what you want out of a guy like that.
Okay, but what else does it mean? Everybody steps up their game. Everybody has to step up their game. When you see somebody out there busting all the time, you're in competition for spots. And if you have to compete with somebody like that, it's going to make everyone else up their game as well, because they all want to play. They all want to be part of the NHL. They all want to be, guys who, get the next big contract. They all want to be guys who are competing at the highest level. So if you got a guy who's he's a little bit lackadaisical, well, you know what? If you want to make this team, you're gonna have to show it, and it makes them improve their level too. So I mean, like I said, really, really like I said, for a 4th-round pick, happy with that too. No problem. I don't think they had a misstep this draft. I'll be honest with you. Then next, I know I think they had a couple of overages that they drafted as well. But we have Sam Loria, a defenseman, left shot defenseman, 6 foot, 184, smaller guy. Okay. He's not a big bruiser like Atchison is. Actually, the Athletic Academy at 6'1", 192. And he was one of the top defensemen for the USHL this season as a re-entry prospect. He was a former United States national team development player. He's a strong skater who transports a lot of pucks up ice. He showed more offense this season than in previous years, mostly due to his skating. I don't think he sees the ice at a very high level. He does compete well, though, and makes a lot of stops, which would give him a path to the league. Okay, fantastic. You know what? Okay, when you're looking, you're in the 5th round, right? That's the 5th round. When you're in the 5th round, you're just throwing darts at the board. You're looking for traits that you could see translate to your team or traits that you want in your organization. Again, compete. You're seeing it over and over and over again. Compete.
He's going also to play for North Dakota, right? Like that's where he's going to be playing his college hockey. So he's going to go to University of North Dakota, a very good school, hopefully develop there a little bit too. But here it is. Latorra is a puck-moving defender with a playmaking – Grumpy, you're yelling, remember, on the other room. But go ahead, read this, X.
It says Loria is a puck-moving defender.
He's a puck-moving defender. I'm sorry, I'll go back to reading it. Grumpy just is in the other room picking up the phone right here. Yelling, pick up the volume.
Loria is a puck-moving defender. Well, that's why I'm a better reader than both of you. A puck-moving defender with a play-killing streak. He jumps into the plays as much as possible, often shifting around defenders with possession and sneaking backdoor for chances. He leads rushes after absorbing contact along the wall, works give and goes, and looks for teammates in the slot instead of forcing low percentage shots. Is he a guy who's going to make it in the league? I don't know. There's a great chance that he doesn't make in the league. But what does he get? Again, what does he bring? Compete. Everyone has to step their game up. When you're Florida Panthers, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, got to bring them up. They all come in. Everyone works hard. From the number 1 guy, Barkov, to the last guy on the bench, they all compete hard. It's all about compete. When you have everybody pulling in the same direction, your team is better. Hockey, more than any other sport, is about team as opposed to individual. There are great individuals, right? McDavid, Draisaitl, but team is most important. You can have a unit that overachieves because of the fact that they compete night in, night out. They're not afraid to do the dirty work. The coach says, hey, I need you to do this tonight. Yes, that's what it's about, coach. No passengers.
Think about the Islanders when Barry Trotz first took over. The sum was always greater than the parts. We had a lot of guys who would compete, a lot of guys who was us against the world, us against John Tavares, us against, reestablishing ourselves as a franchise. And we saw the result of that. Again, if you could draft players that have the talent level, but also have that compete level, that's exactly what you're looking for. Then right here in our 6th round, again, you draft Burke Hood as a goalie. We've got Sorokin locked in long term. If a guy like this can even make the NHL, you're happy with it. But again, like goalies, I'm not even going to pretend like I have a great grasp of goalie prospect nuances. I can tell you, whether I like what I see on the ice, but again, like knowing what's going to translate, I don't really have a good grasp on that.
And like I said, once again, at 170, they draft Burke Hood, the goalie from the Vancouver Giants. Big kid, 6'3", 192. Skating and hockey sense, NHL average. Proman said he had an impressive season. He was a reliable starter for the Giants coming out of midget hockey the prior year. He's a goalie with decent size who moves like a pro. He isn't explosive laterally, but he has the quick twitch in his lower half to make difficult saves. He's mostly efficient in his movements, tracking pucks well. I don't think any aspect of his game truly stands out, but he's a steady goaltender who makes a lot of stops and could be a potential backup. Okay, you know what? I think you should almost draft a goalie every year or every other year at minimum, hoping that you find a diamond in the rough that you can develop.
Goalies take forever to develop, so I 100% agree with you. Pretty much every year, I don't care if it's even later on in the draft, because goalies, how many times do you see a goalie who's drafted in the 1st round, middle or late 1st round, where it's like, oh, this is the best goalie in the draft this year, and you never hear from him again. Al Montoya, 5th overall for the Florida Panthers. You see so many of those guys. Sebastian Casa for the Detroit Red Wings. Like, you see so many of these goalies who are selected early. Just throw at the random, but that's literally like the lottery ticket. You just buy a few lottery tickets, you hope you win, but you have no idea what you're getting in these goalies and how they're going to develop, because they're 18 years old and they're probably about 5 years away from making an NHL debut.
Yeah. Once again, and I don't know if you read this about Hood from Elite Prospects. Okay, maybe we did. It doesn't matter. But you're getting a feel for these guys. He was described as a battler. Okay, that's another guy. It's like, okay, Billy Smith was a battler, right? You're just seeing, no matter who they draft, they're looking for a certain type. And if you're just saying guys who compete, and it's not like these guys are no talent hacks. They were ranked, honestly, higher than where they were picked. And they have that drive and that compete. I don't have a problem with it, honestly. I thought, well, again, I know I'm gushing, which I usually do not do, particularly with Islander drafts, because to me, they've always underwhelmed. This year is totally different for me. And maybe because I did a lot more research. I never felt that the Islanders were really drafting well. Maybe a couple of players here and there that I'm really impressed with this draft. And so have a lot of experts. I'm no expert, even though I purport to be one. But experts are saying this has been a really, really good draft for them. Hopefully everybody pans out. It has been a weak draft, right? Now this is a weak draft, but you never know. And the last pick of the draft in the 7th round was Jacob Kvasnica. He's a right wing, 5'11", 175. Number 202 overall, played for the U.S. National Development Team, had 14 points and 5 goals in 27 games.
He's young, which is important too. This is a guy where I think, you're drafting in the 7th round. They pick a young guy who maybe develops into something. Again, it's not like he's lighting the world on fire there at the USHL right there, but he's a young guy. So again, he's a younger guy in this year's draft class.
And, he has a chance. You're right, TJ. He's young, right? He's a month younger than Schaefer. And so it's like, he was very close to being eligible for next year's draft. I mean, we don't know what he's going to turn to. They didn't have a write-up on him. I don't know if Elite Prospects had anything on him or not. Here we go. He's a high-speed player. He constantly attacks the defensive line with his feet moving. He attacks at angles, works give and goes, cuts across the middle, and occasionally wows. Quick twitch. That's second time I've mentioned that. Quick twitch hand, say that 5 times fast, allows him to slice through overly aggressive defenders, and he shows both passing and shooting skills.
And really quickly, he's a month older than Schaefer.
Right,
but he's young.
Older. I'm sorry. Right, 1 month older. But he's still on the very young side for this draft. I mean, you're getting a player like that in the 7th round. Are you really complaining? I mean, and then I'm just going to read you the quick analysis of what Pronman said on their total draft. He said,
I think again, I'll let you read that, but go ahead, Grump.
He said, an argument can be made that day 2 of the NHL draft was always going to be gravy for the Islanders. Matthew Darche had already made his mark on day 1 by wheeling and dealing his way to 3 selections in the top 17, a haul that included 2 of the top defensemen, prospects to the team's pool. I mean, everyone's saying, honestly, that Atchison was probably number 2. Schaefer was a clear number 1, but Atchison was in that group that they were saying, yeah, he's number 2. Matthew Schaefer is the player with whom Darche will rebuild the Islanders, but it's Atchison who could end up being the steal of the weekend. He's a tough defenseman, and those are hard to come by in the NHL. The new Islanders prospect sandwiching those between those defensemen is Victor Eklund, a top 10 talent of a winger whose fall from the board could prove to be a big gain for the Islanders. Darche went for 3 forwards in rounds 2 through 4, Danil Prokhorov, Luca Romano, and Tomas Polton. Will infuse the Islanders system with a mix of skill and grit. Darche said after day 1 he was pleased with where the Islanders stood insofar as replenishing the draft pool. Well, they only continued to bolster that endeavor in day 2. Darche has cap space to play with when the free agent market opens on Tuesday. How he chooses to spend it will determine whether the Islanders can accomplish the rarest of feats, enhancing their status as playoff contender now, while also building what they hope is a cup contender for tomorrow. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not pissing away contracts on veterans. Anybody over, if you're looking for somebody, I don't want anybody over the age of 30 who's outside of the organization that you have to pay big money to. I guarantee they're resigning Tony D'Angelo. You can just book that. How much are they willing to pay him? I don't think you got to give him any more than $2 million a year for 2 years. He's a pariah, still a pariah around the league. Use that to your advantage.
Yep.
Scott Mayfield's going to be there, right? I don't know who they're going to pair with who, but I'm not playing Schaefer this year. I'm just not. I want him to get a full year of getting bigger and stronger. I want him to play a full season.
Build up his confidence.
Well, I mean, I just don't want to burn an ELC year on this season. I don't want to do it.
I'll be very interested to see what we do come Tuesday. Again, I won't be a part of any of those shows going forward,
Sure.
But I'm going to be very interested to see what we do on Tuesday, first day of free agency, if we try to make any big splashes or not. If we don't, right, you'll know exactly what we've confirmed we talked about. We're restructuring, retooling, rebranding, rebuilding, whatever the hell you want to call it. That's what we're doing. If they start foolishly throwing money at any Tom, Dick, and Harry, not good. I'll be honest with you. We'll see. Hopefully we're smart. We show some restraint. And that Darsh has done that so far, at least in the draft, not overpaying for trading up and selecting Hagens. And again, like I think the reason we went in so much depth about some of these guys drafted in the later selections, right, the likelihood that a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, or a seventh round pick pans out and makes it to the NHL is slim, slim and none on that side. But the guys who can make that and can elevate themselves to doing it are the guys who are extremely highly self-motivated. And when you're drafting a lot of guys, maybe their skill set aren't all that impressive, but you got a lot of guys who are highly motivated, the likelihood that a guy like that may sneak in and play a few games or iron himself out an NHL career is there. Right, I'm not saying these guys are going to be world beaters, but these are guys that can maybe fill out some bottom six roles for a few years, right? The reason why you don't need to sign back guys like Casey Zizekas to multi-year deals and Matty Martz and Cal Clutterbuck like we did. You can get these guys that you've been selecting, and as long as you're doing a good enough job evaluating who really has the high compete level, these are guys that may be able to fill out a year or two for you. These are your Dak Combs. These are your McLeans, these are your Hudson Fashings. These are all of these guys that are interchangeable every other year. So that's what you're looking for.
I mean, I think you could see maybe 4 or 5 guys be contributors to this team going forward. And if you get 4 or 5 guys who play in the NHL on your team out of a draft, that's a great draft.
Huge win. Yep, huge win.
And what does it mean? You don't have to pay those guys for how many years, right? You can have them on entry-level deals, which enables you going forward to maybe go after a big fish in free agency. I mean, we're not there right now, but I love the direction the team is in right now. I don't want to see them take a step back and try to sign some free agent to an overpriced contract. By the time, let's say they go after Nikolai Ehlers, right? By the time the Islanders are really good again, he'll be on the downside. And I'm going to mention again, if you make me an offer for Matt Barzal, okay, it starts at 2 1s. I realize people don't want him to go, but he's a little bit injury prone now.
Yeah,
if somebody offered me a 1 next year and a 1 the year after, I'm considering that. When you move Noah Dobson, like I said, one of the top 4 players on your team, it tells teams around the league, okay, they're ready to do business. They're looking at the long term for this team. When you move a 25-year-old, right shot defenseman, 70-point season, top 10 in scoring between all defensemen in 4 straight in the last 4 years combined, it means that, okay, they're willing to move anyone. There's nothing wrong with that. In coming years, you hope that Schaefer and Atchison develop. So you can move a guy like Pelech, for instance, or a Romanov. I'm not overpaying for Romanov this year. He's 1 year. Is he 1 year from unrestricted free agency? I don't know if he started when he was 18 or not. But, I mean, I wouldn't give him more than 3 years, maybe 4. You're looking to move on from him with these young guys. That's what I mean. Everyone knows my point. He's just not very good defensively, and he's terrible offensively. I'm moving on from him if I could. You want to make me an offer for him? Be my guest. I'm not afraid to move him.
Well, that was my question, Grumpy. I just don't understand why the fan base would be upset if you're trying to, move some players that by the time these younger players end up developing, they're all going to be aged out. They're all going to be on their downside.
Because they don't believe that.
Fans look from here, they look from their eye to the tip of their nose. Not all fans, certainly not the fans who listen to this show. They see into the future. Most fans do not. They see this year. That's all they see is this year.
I would rather my team suck for the next 3 or 4 years, and then as soon as we go through the period of suck, we're a franchise. We're a dynasty team. We're winning 2-3 cups.
This team has been in a perpetual rebuild really since Lou Lamoriello got here for 20 plus years, and the fan base has witnessed a lot of promises of a rebuild and promises of a restructure that have fallen flat on their face. Now, again, majority of those you can thank Charles Wong for not investing anything below. Okay, X, I know this is before you started following the Islanders, but there was a time period where the Islanders were trading away draft picks to make sure that they could go ahead and pick up dead cap hits of Tim Thomas that they didn't have to pay anything out of their pocket, but Tim Thomas retired and it would count against their cap hit, so they didn't have to pay anything, but it would help them reach the cap floor. We gave up a 3rd round pick to pick up Tim Thomas, who was not playing, that could just help us reach the cap floor. And that's the type of mindset our ownership had, right? Like to say that you're going to just brand, okay, all rebuilds work like that because you had cheap owners and they didn't ever put the right pieces around it. It's just foolish. So it's just like they don't want to do the rebuild. They don't want to do it because they're so terrified and afraid that if we enter that again, we're in another 20 years of perpetual misery. And I just don't think this ownership group would take the same approach that Charles Wong did.
And like I said, in recent years, to get to to be salary cap compliant, the Islanders had to trade away assets to get under the cap. Boston, in the Tim Thomas situation, they were over the top of the cap, and the Islanders bailed them out by just taking a dead cap hit and gave them an asset for it. They should have demanded an asset from Boston to help them out.
Yep.
I mean,
that's an owner who only cares about profit. That's it. It doesn't care any bit about the fans.
That's what dumb franchises do. Now, here's the thing. The Islanders, back when Charles Wong was here, they were not spending money. These guys are not afraid to spend money. Lamoriello was, he brought them respectability. Hopefully Matthew Darsh can take him to the next level because Lamoriello had exhausted his time here.
Let's get into the comments
real quick. Yep. Craig, the regular human bartender, says, late again, guess TJ's presence is still here. This is TJ's absolute last show. Thomas Antonetti says, good evening, gentlemen. I must say I'm a convert now. From down on this team to a believer in the draft prospects. In the process, I like the vision and our free agency. Ehlers and Ekblad, hashtag all in. No, Thomas, we don't want to get Ehlers and Ekblad. First of all, they would not be able to afford both of them, without a doubt. They have to re-sign Siplikov, Holmstrom, and
Romanov.
Those guys have to. You can maybe sign one guy, but why would you want to do that? I'm not interested in trying to be a better team this year. Nikolai Ehlers is not coming here. He's a fit for Carolina, of all teams.
$9 million in New York playing, I think, I don't know exactly the city that they play in, but $9 million in New York is a whole hell of a lot less than $9 million or even $8 million in Florida. So worth adding that in, at least like compared to the cost of living. So I just don't see us being able to be competitive to bring in a guy like Ekblad just based off of maybe what Florida would be able to pay him.
There's so few top-level free agents available this offseason that these guys are going to get wildly overpaid. Sam Bennett.
The cap went up.
Even with the cap, right, because the cap's gone up, so people have money. Sam Bennett, who had a tremendous postseason, won Conn Smythe Trophy, had his best offensive year ever, 51 points. He's 29 years old. He signed an 8x8 extension with Florida. Now, here's the thing. He could have gotten more somewhere else. He's perfect for Florida as a number 2 center behind Barkov.
he also wants to win. He wants to stay
That's-
with the winner as opposed to going somewhere else.
And again, that team commitment.
Yep. Run it back.
Brad Marchand wants to stay with Florida. He's a third liner for them.
A good third liner.
Damn good. I mean,
I wanted to put up Nazem Kadri just really quickly to put in perspective the Bennett contract. Nazem Kadri, right? Fantastic years with the Leafs, with Colorado. Fantastic year after fantastic year. It's like contract season, 71 games, 87 points. He had 15 points in 16 games for them that offseason when they won the Stanley Cup. It's as simple as this, right? He played extremely well. He got paid at the wazoo. He got paid, what, $9 million a year for much better?
I think 7.5. I think 7.5.
7.5 for much better production. And again, the postseason production wasn't the same as Bennett's, but much better regular season production. And after that, still again, a guy who's putting up 56, 75, and 67 points in his 3 years with Calgary. Again, Bennett's never had more. He's 51 points is the most he's ever had in a season. That was this year in a contract year. So 8x8. People are about to start throwing crazy money around. Again, I don't think people comprehend this. We're adding 2 games to the regular season, which increases your market share, and you're going to be adding 2 expansion teams. That is going to increase the cap space exponentially. I don't think people can understand what that's going to do to the cap space. Look at the NFL when they did that. They added 1 more game. They went from 16 to 17 games. You saw huge increases on the actual cap. But again, they weren't adding teams. The NHL is planning on adding 2 expansion teams here within the next 5 years. We're going to have 2 brand new expansion teams. These guys that are signing 8-year contracts know towards the tail end of that, their contract cap hit's going to be minuscule compared to what will be on the front end. They understand that. Agents aren't dumb.
And the thing, they were looking at Bennett's contract before the season, before the playoffs started, 6x6. Okay. Yep. So we got 2 more years at $2 million per for the extra, for all that term. That's what happens. But why? Because he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion and a Conn Smythe winner, and he was phenomenal.
He steps up in big games. He steps up. Yep.
JP says, I thought the draft itself went pretty well for the Islanders. Excellent. I'm just going to go with an A. I'm not going to.
No, A++. Come on.
All right. Edward Figueroa says, great draft pick yesterday. Yeah, which one? I thought they were all good. And it brings some physicality and snarl. And here's the thing. I think Atchison is a big hitter like Romanoff, but hopefully he's more defensively sound. But you can, like I said, a good coach could say, okay, let's pick our spots to be an intimidator. Let's make sure, number one, we're protecting our goal. We don't want to be like Alexander Romanoff, leaving his defensive partner out to dry because we're smashing somebody against the wall over here, and you got a 2 or 3-on-1 coming the other way.
But the thing, Grumpy, he's taking somebody out for the game, though. You got to think of it.
Yeah, well, and he does. Man, he knocks some guys out.
Yeah, he does. Sends him to the hospital for sure.
When he hits you, you stay hit.
Yep,
I'll just say that. Thomas Antonetti says, "Love Kayshawn to anchor our D with grit and toughness for years to come." That's what we're hoping. Like I said, everything looks great today. Draft is usually draft and team building the offseason is always my favorite time of the year. Dan P says, up next, free agency. Who should we go after? I'm not looking at anyone. I'm looking for bargains. I'm looking for bargains. I'm looking for, as I mentioned yesterday, Trevor Zegras. He's a guy that I would roll the dice on.
I like him.
I'm looking at a young guy who maybe is out of favor with his current team, and we don't think much of him. Maybe trade a 5th-round pick for a guy like that. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not looking for older players. This team is not in the spot where they're going to compete for a Stanley Cup anytime in the next 3-4 years. Just not happening. But you can build towards that by being smart. Hopefully that's what the Islanders do. So you don't extend. You don't overextend for guys.
Value finds. To answer your question real quick, value finds what we're looking for. Again, whoever is going to get paid less or is going to willing to take a shorter deal because the market's not there for him, but he can maybe be something, value finds. That's what we're bargain bin shopping. Frank says here, great picks. Absolutely. Matthew S.
How is TJ still here and you botched the opening? X WTF. Yeah, I don't know how you botched the opening.
But I don't know. It seems like it changes all the time. I don't know.
It doesn't change all the time.
It's been the same
for 8 years.
Maybe I'm the one who's changing it all the time.
That's it. You changed. Drew S. says, TJ just can't quit this show. Today is his last episode. Thomas Antonetti says, the Russian we drafted in the second round is supposed to be a sleeper pick. Really fortunate that he fell to us. Might be a great steal here. Maybe. Hope so. He's big and physical. Robert L. Peters says, can you imagine if Lou was still the GM? Dobson gets $13 million a year and a full no trade. No, that wouldn't have been the case.
The asking price is $11 million is what he wanted. Would he have taken 10? I think so. But again, took 9.5 for Montreal. You'll see. Just wait. You'll see. I feel like the same thing when I did when Devontae was traded for a bucket of peanuts, and he only had 1 year of experience as a top 4 defenseman. He signed a $4.5 million contract originally with Colorado, but it was like, said the same exact thing. Wait, you'll see. We got wildly underpaid for Devontae's. Had an emergency podcast. This wasn't necessarily that bad, but we got underpaid for a guy who's a top pairing defenseman in the NHL for years to come as a right defenseman, just underpaid.
TJ, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical because it's not happening. But if John Tavares hit the market and you could have got him 4 years for 4.5, would you have done it?
Yeah, I would have.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
how much did we pay Kyle Palmieri? I don't want to take this off. We're already late in the show, and it's late at night. But I'm like, Kyle Palmieri is getting paid how much a year?
4.7. He's half the player Tavares.
And John Tavares, who's still putting up like 60, 70 point a year seasons, is getting paid how much?
4.38. 4.38.
Yeah.
He never would have wanted to come here.
No.
Never.
He wanted to stay in Toronto. He took a hometown discount.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to throw it out there. Thomas Antonetti says second or third rounder for Howard from Tampa would solidify this weekend and make our young core nucleus truly impressive and promising. Why? He becomes a free agent on Tuesday. You have the money now. If you want to sign him, you don't have to give up an asset for him.
I would do anything I can to sign him. That's a guy I'm signing.
Okay. How much would you you can pay above market for him. You have the money for that.
I would pay him. I'd pay him. Make that shit happen. Roll the dice on him on a 1 year contract or a 2 year deal.
He's not taking a 1 year deal. That's not happening. 2
or 3 year deal. He's young. He just won the Hobie Baker Award. I'd roll the dice 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't give more than 3. But you know, this is an entry level deal. The max you can give him is 3 years. So like 2 or 3 year deal, even 3, and then whatever you want to give him, 1.5, 2. I'm fine with that.
He's going to get more than that. Dale S. says the draft was solid. Yeah, I thought it was better than solid. Frank from Empire State says pathetic that Dobson got more money than the great Sam Bennett. Well, he plays a more valuable position and he's younger. That's why he gets paid more money. Thomas Antonio goes, Grumpy, I wouldn't totally write off the kid we got from Montreal in the Dobson trade. I will. Just yet. Hearing really good things, albeit a third liner based about him. Solid third liner would be a good thing. We don't need third liners. We don't need. They're imminently replaceable parts. Don't need them. I would have much rather gotten a Reinbacker or a Milliot from them.
Cool kid.
Logan Mayu is the other guy too.
Mayu. Sorry,
like
my bad.
I'd have been fine with any of those players in Emil, whatever the hell his name is. We'll learn it when it gets to season.
Yeah, I'm not. He's a nothing. Drew says league wide, everyone said we had the best draft. I 100% agree.
Yep.
Drew also adds, even the Ranger fans admitted that we killed the draft.
I like that. I thought we did a really good job today.
Frank from Empire State says the Montreal kid is good and has lots of potential. No, he's not. This is his 4th team in 5 years. Dale says the Islanders are in a rebuild. 100% agree. Freedom from Adventure says, TJ, you filthy animal. This draft is absolutely A+. You see direction Darsh wants. Big, heavy hitting, attacking guys with big shots who are relentless war dogs. These guys are skilled, but playoff guys. And I agree with you, Freedom, but just pump the brakes because all of them are not going to make the team.
Yeah. But if you have to have enough of the skill. You got to have enough of the skill too, but you got to have enough of the meat and potatoes, and we don't have any meat and potatoes anywhere in our farm system and anywhere on our team currently. So it's good to not have to overpay to sign or trade for the meat and potato guys if you start drafting them now.
Yes, X.
A lot of people didn't think Tom Brady was going to make the team, and guess what? He proved them wrong. You got to believe, okay? You got to believe.
Okay. Tony Chi says, he's back again. I can't. This is it for him. Today's TJ's last show. Nick Canetto says, I was very harsh on the late draft picks at first, but just because I soured on the Dobson trade, I have now really warmed up to those picks. Yeah, those 2 picks.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they still should have got better value, but considering what they did get, I thought they did very well. The Wicked 50 Cal goes, the picks I liked were Schaefer, Eklund, and Romano. Would have loved to have switched the Russian kid with Schmidt. That would have been an A draft. I like the Aitchison pick. I just do. Edward Figueroa says the kids for Long Island wearing the kid from Long Island wearing a Boston jersey is sad. I don't think he don't give 2 shits. He wanted to be picked first. That's what he really wanted. The more I listen to him, the less I want him on.
What a shock that this comment made it in.
Son X is spot on, says Tony Cheese.
I don't remember what I was spot on about, but
you are X. Whatever it was, you were spot on.
I don't remember.
The Wicked 50 Cal says, I am very okay with the rebuild. Stink it up the next 3 to 5 years. Hopefully we get McKenna in 26 or DuPont in 27. Get more firsts in those draft years. That's how we get out of the bottom quickly. Absolutely. And here's the thing. With what we have, it wouldn't have to be 5 years. It really wouldn't if those guys pan out. The lifeblood of an organization is the draft.
Just to correct the record really quickly, and thank you, Wicked 50 Cal, for bringing this up here. Yes, Isaac Howard does not become an unrestricted free agent until August 15th of 2026. Okay. So it's not this year, but it's next year. So again, on him, if he was free, I'd be all for it. At this point, unless they're giving him away for nothing, I'm not picking up Isaac Howard at this point, unless they're giving him away literally for nothing, or he becomes a free agent at the end of next season.
Okay, I don't know why I thought he was a free agent at the end of this year. My bad. A lot of screw-ups for me tonight. Nick Canetta says, rebuild might not be as long. Already have Richie, Iserman, Nelson, George. George is an afterthought. They don't think much of George. I'm just telling you. You can look at, he's a left shot defenseman, and you just drafted 2 yesterday. So, no. Took 3 first-round picks this year, 2 first rounds next year, and possibly have a 3rd after the deadline. That's a big haul. They should have at least 3 after the deadline. At least. Maybe 4. Mm-hmm. Dale S. says 2 nights in a row. That's right. Don't get spoiled, Dale. Drew says, honestly, at this point, every time Brock Nelson gets brought up, just say he traded himself. No need to give credit to Lou for that one. That's right. If Lou was still here, the Islanders would be in really bad shape.
We should thank Noah Dobson for not walking us all the way to, signing a bridge deal or saying, yeah, we're going to sign something. Or well, I guess his contract negotiations come up, or at least like, hey, we're going to qualify the offer because we're not going to work on a deal unless it's this, but we're not going to accept trades. I don't know. Noah Dobson at least was forthright with it. I guess he really didn't have – it's shocking. He did have leverage, but I'm trying to articulate it. He wasn't like he had a no trade clause or no move clause. At least they were proactive about doing this now, so it got done before the draft instead of waiting to negotiate more the closer it got to the season, right?
And one more thing, FYI, to any free agent coming here, if you want to sign here, you're not getting a no trade or a no move clause. Not now, you're not. That's just not happening. Not where the Islanders are as an organization. None of these no trade clauses, no move clauses. Rick Roma says apparently 31 of 32 teams are buying and not selling because they think they're contenders. What a joke. If Darch was smart, he'd sell right now. Okay, here's what I'll say. You want to sell J.G. Pajot, Anders Lee today, do it. It's going to be high. It's going to be a first-round draft pick if you want J.G. Pajot. Doesn't matter who it is. Pittsburgh is also selling. They're not
in full rebuild.
Yeah, they know they're in a rebuild too. But you're right. There's very few teams are selling.
Hey,
now a seller's market.
Hey, have they come out there and said, "Hey, we're in a rebuild. We're rebuilding"? No, they usually don't say that.
You know they are.
They know. Yes.
Matthew Skloroff says, "When your core is Barzal, Horvat, and Sorokin, it's a rebuild." Yeah, that's fair. If somebody offered you a first-round pick and a second for Bo Horvat, tell me you wouldn't take that for a 30-year-old center.
By the time
who's a 55-point-a-year guy.
By the time the team gets good, he's going to be aged out by then.
Yeah. Nick Canetta says, TJ, happy to see you're still here. I know you're still leaving. Today's the last show for TJ.
Yep.
Rick Roma says the Pens are the team that isn't buying supposedly. Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Freedom Front Event says, I'm going to call it a return to New York Islanders hockey, attacking, hitting, tough as hell, relentless, skilled, high scoring, etc. I just like to compete. I like the Eklund pick. Schaefer was a no-brainer, but Eklund and Atchison, beautiful.
Dogs.
Drew says, a pretty famous YouTuber actually called out Islanders Twitter for being weird about the hate for Noah Dobson. About damn time. I wonder if he knows if Dobson deleted Twitter because of those weirdos. Yeah, I just don't get it. It's just stupid. And
Thank God.
everyone knows I have whipping boys that I have absolutely on this team, but I'm able to acknowledge when they do well. Simon Holmstrom's priority one for me. But what did he do? He improved his game and he earned my respect. You have to earn it from me. I'm just not giving it to you. James Hagens, fuck you.
Yes, but I do agree. I do agree that the hatred for Noah Dobson, just like the hatred for Slobroken and Slobson, it just gets lazy at that point. And Matt Barzal, it's pathetic. It's lazy hatred because you think the best guy on your team should be a Cale McCarr or a Rantanen or a McKinnon, but in reality, first ballot Hall of Famers don't grow on trees.
It's because most fans really don't know the intricacies of the game. They just, look at that. Dobson's over there. He got burned on this play. Well, he's got a defense partner who's out of position all the time. So he doesn't know, I got to go cover him. So he's not covering his guy. So he looks bad because he's left high and dry. Okay. Like I said, Romanoff loves to hit guys. Okay, great. But you know what you don't do? Play defense. How did Romanoff look with Tony DeAngelo? That's all I got to say. They were an abominable together. You put Dobson with Pellick, and all of a sudden, holy shit, look at Dobson. He's great out there defensively. Yeah, it's because he's who he's paired with. Rick Romer says, Dobson has his warts, but the hatred, and the same thing with Sorokin, right? Oh, Sorokin, he should have stopped it. Okay, Sorokin, he was like high and dry too.
He's the best goalie that's ever worn Islanders blue and orange, and he receives more hate than any other goalie. He receives more hate than Kevin Poulin used to receive, and more hate than Rick DiPietro, more hate than every fucking goalie that's ever worn Islanders blue and orange, and he's the most talented goalie, and I think it's pathetic what our fan base does to him, and that the due to all the talented players, it's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Rick Romer says Dobson has his warts, but the hatred towards him by some Islanders fans is a little strange. This is all fan bases. As soon as a guy leaves, they're the worst player that ever lived because they're no longer for your team. Well, I'm sorry. I don't understand people like that. When John Tavares left, did I say he was the worst player? The hatred for John Tavares still goes on. I just don't get it.
That's what he did. It
doesn't matter that he left. It's not on him.
It's how he left. It
doesn't matter. It's not on him. The GM just could have said, you don't sign this deal, we're moving you. I don't care what you asked for.
I agree, but I'm just saying it's the way that he left is why there's hatred towards him. That's why.
Wicked 50 Cal says, or rather switch the Russian kid with Rybikin or Schmidt. That's an A draft, and that's coming from someone who is still disappointed we didn't get Hagens.
Yep, absolutely. I would have been happy with either of those selections at that spot, but we're going to see how it works out with Prokop.
The Rybikin kid I guarantee he was off their board. Just looking at how they drafted, he wasn't even on their board. And a lot of teams said he wasn't off the board. And the commentator said that most teams said he could not believe how out of shape he got in 2 months' time before the combine. That's a red flag. And it is a red flag. You're going on a job interview as a model and you show up 30 pounds overweight. I mean, you can't. I'm just being facetious, of course. But like if you're a supermodel and you're going for a photo shoot and you say, okay, we love what you look like, and all of a sudden you show up 20 pounds overweight. It's like, what the hell is that? And his interviews were horrible.
He's a kid. He can work that shit out. That's the only reason I said it's a kid. He can become more mature, but he's a kid.
I understand, and I wanted him as well, but I'm going to tell you he was off their board just looking at how they drafted. Nick Canetta says, what contracts do you give our RFAs? I would give Holmstrom 2 years, 2.5 per, maybe 3 tops. Romanoff 3 years. I don't know what gets him to free agency. No more than $4 million for him.
1 year gets him to free agency.
Okay. No, I don't think he played the same. I don't think he started as an 18-year-old like Dobson. Did he?
Dobson didn't start as an 18-year-old.
Okay. I thought he did.
I'll pull up. I think they played the same amount of years in the
Okay.
NHL.
Well, then I'm just giving him a bridge. I'm not giving him a long-term deal. Not for a bottom six guy. Not for a bottom pair defensive. I'm just not doing it. Move him. Weather and Aviation said, and Siplikov, $2 million per. That's it. Weather and Aviation. I'm sorry, gentlemen. Dobson was flip-flopping on his loyalty to the Islanders, and if rumors are true that his girlfriend swayed Dobson to give the Islanders a reason to move him, then sayonara. If the Islanders wanted him, they could have paid it. They could have paid the salary he wanted. Period. They didn't want it.
He wanted to play for a young and upcoming team. Simple as it is. But we're not a young and upcoming team. That's not the direction of our team. We could thank Lou Lamoriello for that. He wanted to play for a team that was going to give him a chance to win Stanley Cups and a team that could go ahead and grow with him. He's a young 25-year-old defenseman. Again, remember, his fiance is from Boston. He was offered a trade to Boston, and he said he would not negotiate on the $11 million asking price. AKA, he didn't want to be traded to Boston. Here's the thing. He wanted to be traded to a team like Columbus. Why do you think Columbus's name started popping up there too? Columbus, it's not like Cleveland, Ohio is a big, destination spot.
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. I'm sorry. Columbus, Ohio is not a big destination spot. It's as simple as
Cleveland is not a destination spot either.
I don't know anywhere in Ohio that's a big destination spot.
Don't alienate all of them.
You get my point. I don't know anywhere in Ohio that's like, hey, it's a big destination spot. But simple as this, he did not want to go ahead and take hometown or lower discounts for a team that was not willing to compete and win a Stanley Cup. But he said, I'm willing to take a little bit of a discount for a team that I feel like I can grow with and can be a cup contender. Didn't feel the Islanders were there. It's honestly that simple. You can thank Lou Lamoriello for that. Thank you so much, Lou Lamoriello. That's the reason he didn't cut us a hometown discount, but did cut Montreal a hometown discount, despite not being from Montreal.
The Islanders never get hometown discounts for guys to stay, ever. I don't think we read that last comment. No one hates Dobson. That's not true, Freedom Front Adventure. He could have been an amazing defenseman, but people lost faith. Sure, he has nice offense, but he was horrible on defense the past few years. Why? You ever ask why? Look who his partner was. This is his first job, and you can't win with a liability. Okay, he's an offense-first defenseman.
I saw Colorado win with Cale Makar. I've seen plenty of teams win with hideous defensive defense. I've seen Edmonton make back-to-back Stanley Cup finals with Evan Bouchard and Darnell Nurse out there. You can make it with guys who are liabilities on the defensive end but offer enough offensive talent and ability. You can do that.
You're going to be surprised with the numbers and how much better defensively he is next year with Montreal.
His plus minus is going to be a lot better in Montreal because they score a lot more goals, and he's going to be out there for less goals against.
Particularly if he's paired with a Goulet.
Lane Hudson.
And here it is right here. I'll tell you, Goulet, Dobson, Matheson, Hudson, Carrier, watch the F out. Fais gaffe, Bordeaux. Watch out for the Habs, I mean. Yeah, you're going to watch. If he's paired with a defensive defenseman, you watch the numbers he puts up. He had to cover for Romanov. Romanov is a disaster defensively. Don't get fooled by the big hits and blocking shots. He's always out of position. He's never going to get better at that. Look at how bad he looked when he had D'Angelo, who also plays no defense. They were torched on a nightly basis all night long. It's not a mistake. Rick Roma says Makar went back to play at UMass for 2 years after he was drafted and didn't become a superstar. He is for another couple of years. Penciling Schaefer into the Islanders lineup next year is season is silly. Absolutely.
I remember he finished up his sophomore season in college, and in the playoffs, they were talking about how important he was and how he's bursting onto the scenes. I'm like, man, yeah, this guy is pretty good, and no idea of knowing what he would be when all is said and done. But yeah, he did spend a few years in college, which helps him grow and help him be, make that seamless transition.
GARC 2541 says, I don't want to say Garce because I don't know what it is, or Gark, I don't know. My expectation with the rest of the offseason is for Darsh to clean up this roster of loser core. I think what you saw also is you're able to move contracts that have some years on them because of salary cap. So if you have guys who have value, maybe the Islanders are looking to move. How many defensemen did they draft in this draft? 3? Maybe they're looking to move some 4. Okay. Maybe they're looking to move some of their veteran defensemen in the immediate future. Maybe a Pellick, maybe a Pulak. I think they still have value. Maybe they can move Mayfield. Maybe they can move Romanoff. I don't know. But it's going to take a while to move all the trash off this roster. But hopefully they start doing that as soon as possible. Frank from Empire State says, Schaefer is a kid, 1 to 2 years to develop, can't rush him and mess him up. I think he's only 1 year down.
Sorry, it was 3, not 4 defensemen drafted this year, but 3.
He was right. You're wrong.
Okay, I was right. Okay, good. Gus Panagatos says, the way, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the way you're talking, Islanders should trade Barzal and Horvat as well. No way. I'm just saying, if someone offered you a deal where you can say, oh, I can get a couple more first-round draft picks next year's draft, I'm absolutely considering it.
No, they were not considering sorry, X, but they were not considering trading Barzal and Horvat. There were rumors swirling around that maybe they were listening to offers on them. But guess what? They're pretty much listening to offers on anyone. When you're listening to offers on Romanoff too and all these other players that teams were inquiring about, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, you're listening to offers on, you're looking to make changes. You're looking to trade players. That's simple. So apparently, again, the Barzal and Horvat rumors were fake. Who knows?
I don't think there's a market for Horvat. I do think there's a market for Barzal.
Horvat's older.
Barzal's a difference maker. He's a difference maker. Oh, Horvat's not. JP says Dobson is better than Bouchard for sure. He absolutely is. Rick Romer says Dobson's absolutely not better than Bouchard. They are similar, though. He's better than Bouchard. You put Dobson on that team, he's a point-a-game guy, without a doubt, on that power play with that team. And he's better defensively than Bouchard. Bouchard is hideous defensively. Drew says, actually, Grumpy, Holmstrom was projected as a late first-round pick according to Elite Prospects, so you're wrong there. He was projected as a second-round pick everywhere else. That's what I'm going with. He was projected as a late second-round pick. Freedom Fund Adventure goes, I got $5 that says TJ wouldn't shut the heck up about Dobson during Doc Page's birthday dinner. You won your $5.
I agree.
No, we didn't talk about that at all.
Actually, since he said it 3 times as much, you got $15.
The Wicked 50 Cal says very understandable fan reaction when they saw Hagens picked. Why? Because he's a local kid? You think about that. He's a local kid. That means he should be picked by your team? I don't get it. Sorry. Frank from Empire State says, sadly, we have stupid fans. Yeah, but here's the thing. Every team has stupid fans. The Islanders aren't the only team. Look at Toronto. Look at everywhere USA. Most fans are just they don't understand the complexities of the sport that they watch. I just watch on Sundays. Oh, look at this guy. Look at what a great quarterback he is. No, he's not. He had some success because they played weak-ass schedule, and, he likes to run around a lot, but come big game, he kind of chokes.
Oh, are you talking about Lamar Jackson?
We got one of them. We had one of them in North Carolina. And, again, at the end of the day, I've proven right. Okay, I don't know what we're looking at. Okay, Simon Holmstrom. 27th among EU skaters. That's not first round.
I know. He was 27th among European skaters. A lot of people had him in the 40s range, 50s range.
Yeah, he was not a first round. He was not a first round pick.
Yeah.
He absolutely
TSN Craig Button was 46th on that list. Hockey Writers, again, he was a second round guy is where he was projected to go.
And that's what everybody said. He was a late second round guy. That's what he was. I knew I was right. Drew. The Wicked 50 Cal says, I also view Hagens as the third best player in the draft. Okay. Nobody else did. Frank from Empire State says Hagen is so overrated. I'm just listening to him talking afterwards. I'm so glad we didn't get him. He sounds entitled to me.
He's crybaby.
I'm interested to track his career.
I'm not going to say he's overrated, entitled, any of that stuff. I just will say he seems like a jilted lover. He's got a lot to prove. He needs to really have a little introspection. All those kids really do. They're 18 years old. Need to grow up.
I think where Grumpy comes from on the entitlement is the fact that he's out there trying to show up the Islanders because they didn't pick him number 1 overall.
He sounds, and I said he sounds entitled to me.
Yeah.
I didn't say he was. I said he sounds it, except for the Schaefer kid. The Schaefer kid is a breed apart. EJ Hradek said he's been doing the draft since 1991. He said this kid, as a person, he's never seen anything like him. This is the type of guy you build your franchise around.
Yep.
I cannot be more excited for him. I was hoping we'd keep Dobson, but okay, we didn't. This kid, and it leaves us short on the right side. Absolutely does. But this kid is going to be special. You can feel it. The Wicked 50 Cal says, for context, I had Eklund as my 6th best player in the draft. Okay, I don't know. Like I said, I just watch highlights. I don't watch any of I watch some of the junior championships. You don't get a true feel of what a player is because it's like an all-star team. But still, when I see certain guys, I'm like, and I hear other people who do watch that for a living, I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. I'll defer to you because you know more than me on the subject. Freedom Fund Adventure says, those are dumb fans leaving due to Hagens. Show the clip of Hagens and his daddy drooling all over Boston. I didn't like his player profile. I wasn't giving up tons of assets for him. That was me in a nutshell. If he slipped to 16, I'm taking
a flyer on him, yeah.
But I'm not trading up for him.
Yep.
JP says, on Craig Button's final draft board, Hagens was 8th, Eklund was 10th, and Darsh got him at 15. Got him at 16, actually. Darsh's trades have been underwhelming, but the picks look pretty good. Agreed.
Yep.
JP adds, if next week or July 1st or 2nd, Fredo gets demoted or sacked, you'll hear me cheering and screaming from Deer Park. I remember driving past Deer Park every day and work off the Southern State Expressway. Dale S. says, glad Darsh didn't overpay for Hagens. No good decision is ever made on emotion. Correct, 100% correct. Meatball Parm says, keep seeing Prokhorov as a major project. Not sure about that pick. Seems like the Spence kid was the pick there. I don't know. There were other guys I probably would have had, but okay, they're rolling the dice a little bit. What was the one thing that he had in spades, though? Compete. They went with compete this year. You can't teach drive and determination. You just cannot teach that. You either have it or you don't. If you have it, you can overachieve. If you don't, you very likely will underachieve. Matthew Carbone says, TJ's back. Son X is growing on me, though. Probably like a mold or a fungus.
Like a growth.
Tony Cheese says, the TJ Never Say Bye podcast.
Oh, I love that one. That one made me chuckle.
James Farrell says, Grumpy Serious NHL channel said the same thing you said about why not getting Mason. Mason? Who's Mason? Why not getting Mason?
I just thought if the NHL channel was saying the same thing you were, it must be right?
I don't even have that. But who's Mason? I don't remember. Frank from Empire State says, hit the thumbs up. Please do. Help us out. Stop It says, oh, and yes, we're definitely taking a step back. That's okay. It's okay. For the greater good, it's okay. Yep. Todd Peterson says, do you know what movie that's from, X? Peterson! Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay. I was going to say something about being in the classroom. I don't remember.
I was hoping we get Fiddler at 42 to replace a right shot Dobson. That would have been a draft right there. I don't think drafting a guy at 18 to replace Dobson, no. You should have got somebody from Montreal in that deal. One of those right shot defensemen who are ready to contribute right now because you're losing. Anybody you draft at 42 is not going to be here for like 3, maybe 4 years tops, right? So by then you've already gotten your Dobson replacement. The Wicked 50 Cal says Eklund was a phenomenal pick. I knew he would slip a little because he's undersized and a winger, but he should have never made it outside the top 11 or 12. Reminds me of Seth Jarvis type. Well, you know what? If that's the case, we're in good shape. Freedom Fund Adventure goes, we still need to add some fighters for the season. Gleb and New Power are about the only ones in the system, though the college snipers all had size and grit. The fighting's almost passe in the league. You like guys who will stick up for their teammates, but how many fights are there really? Freedom Fund Adventure goes, Eklund, 5'11", 170, could easily put on 20 pounds this season and 30 in year 2. He's a boy yet. Look at his face. He's not even shaving yet. He's not going to put on that type of weight. Yeah, he needs to put in a couple of years, 20 pounds. He needs to put on 20 pounds within 2 years. I think he'd be okay. Matthew Carbone says trading Dobson doesn't mean they're rebuilding. If they're rebuilding, they would move Barzell and Sorokin. You're moving one of your top 4 players on the team and getting nothing back
You're in a rebuild.
except draft picks. That's rebuild. Stop It says, we added studs. I'm so happy we got all these players. Now we can concentrate on developing the players properly. That's the big deal. That should have been Darsh's first thing. Make sure Fredo's gone. Make sure they're developing players differently than they have in the past, which was not at all pivotal for the development of the New York Islanders going forward. Todd Peterson adds, next year's forward heavy, and I got an eye for Windsor Spitfires. Belchez, 6'5", 226, and Rocky in Bridgeport knows about him. I'm taking McKenna if you get the number 1 pick. The other guy's supposed to be number 2. Wicked 50 Cal says Eklund was the line driver on that line between him and Frondell. I'm telling you, the analytics and the eye test support that. I hope you're right. Like I said, the highlights I saw tells me this kid can play in the league. Matthew Carbone says, I'm happy to trade Lee and JGP for picks.
Yep.
Me too. Wicked 50 Cal says Eklund doesn't have the hardest wrist shot, but he has an unbelievably quick release, and it's very accurate. Yeah, you could see he gets that shot off quick. Stop It says Kayshawn is the man, stud, big man, and can fight. He can skate, and he's a defensive defenseman. Drew says, I know Atchison is going to be an absolute gangster on the ice. I love the pink suit.
Yep.
Freedom Front Adventure says, Son X, are the women in your family the calm, rational, stoic members of the family? Like
Yeah,
the warden.
I'd say Warden, I don't think has I don't know. I think she's very, very calm. You're the only one who gets upset about stuff, Grumpy.
And what about Fiance Y?
Fiance Y, sometimes can be emotional. Sometimes, usually she's really chill all the time. But sometimes, if she's passionate about something, she'll show some emotion.
Okay, I like
Paige
that.
is definitely the emotional one out of TJ.
Oh, look at that. Look at that, TJ.
Hold on, what did she say? What did he say?
He just run over Paige.
No, well, you know what? She deserved that after today.
She's very mean to me today. Very mean.
Dude,
I'm not emotional really at all. So.
The Wicked 50 Cal goes, Atchison's IQ isn't the greatest in my opinion. That's true. He'll frequently go for the hit instead of getting the puck. That's easily retrievable. He struggles transitionally. Would much rather have had Reed. That needs to be coached out of him. And I think we said that yesterday and during this show. You have to get him to know there's a time and place for that. That's Romanov's problem. I don't know if he's ever taught, dude, you don't hit everything every single time you have a chance. Defense first. If you have the opportunity, you can hit the big check, but it's not the be all end all. If he turns into what Romanov is, he will be a bad pick. Milo Brownie says that the Islanders have the coaching staff to develop these guys into great players. That's what we're hoping. Rocky Thompson, not the former running back and number 22 pick for the New York Giants in 1970, is not that Rocky Thompson. It's a different Rocky Thompson. Hopefully he is that guy. And TJ,
Grumpy, can you hear me at all?
Yes, I can.
Okay, my computer's frozen, so I'm gonna have.
Okay, TJ, do you want to pop up the comments then?
Yep, you're looking at it right now, Grumpy.
Weather and Aviation says that's a problem with the Islanders. One of our guys gets hit and taken down, and the rest of the team doesn't help and go after the offender. Our players are just lollygagging around. Wicked 50 Cal says, I bet I agree, TJ, with you on Prokhorov. Much rather have chosen some other player that were on the board. He's a project. He's a project.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for in the second round. You're looking for guys that can project. I always rely upon more. I'm looking more for the skill just because we've lacked that for so long. I see that the route that they're going, at least they're consistent with the draft. So Brian G says, amazing draft. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, Prokhorov was the player I wanted in the second round. Big, heavy shot, dominates the boards, great in front of the net, tries to destroy what he hits. So needed. Ducks Analytics Cam.
Okay, I don't know what
Maybe
that is.
F Analytics. So Analytics Cam Robinson.
Cal says the Hurricanes every year draft at least 2 guys that I want the Islanders to draft. Absolutely. They did it again today.
Yep.
Drew says, thing about either Robikin is going to be a supposed consensus top 5 pick, or he's another Hosang and the scouts are right. It's up to him.
I take a gamble on that. I take the Hossein gamble every day of the week.
Wicked 50 Cal says, I loves the Romano pick. This was a tremendous pick. I love that pick way more than Prokhorov.
Eyes on Isles was saying that was a steal of the draft.
Oh, good for them. Drew says, center equals defenseman. Is Grumpy's defensive back Cooper? Not quite. Program this says, love seeing TJ. So glad he's still on the show. Don't fall in love with him. He's gone after today.
I have a feeling TJ will give us some takes though that we'll definitely discuss on the show.
I think he will also. I think he'll put it in the comments.
Yes.
Stop It says, size and speed, baby. That's what's needed. We also need some heart. We needed to get younger. Let's pray JG and Lee get traded. I think you've seen most of the guys are good skaters who they were drafting. Darce said we needed to get younger and faster, and I think they're in the process of doing that. Johnny Rico says, the Islanders haven't been tough on the ice to play since Lou fired Trotz. Craig Jacobs says, Dobson is soft. You don't want anything with that guy. Not true. Gungun says, long live Mr. Darsh. He will eventually lead the Islanders out of the swampy marsh. That's a statement, not even a question. Usually it's a question in the second half, but that was a statement. JB says, a lot of Johnny come latelys here, putting the shade on the departed Dobson. Suspicious, if you ask me. Dobson was by far their best skater and is going to add a lot to Montreal's decor. Yes, absolutely. It's okay to admit a guy was good just because he left your team. Don't think the Islanders are better for losing Noah Dobson. They are not.
It's a narrative that the Philistines have been spinning for a long time. It's just the loser portion of the fan base who believe that Luke could do no wrong. We're saying the same thing. Anyway, Freedom for the Venture says here, TJ, you have to step up and be a leader now that you're home and set up family workouts. Get Grumpy to an eye doctor. I've already tried to get Grumpy on we got to get a gym membership in the right area. We're going to try to get X on board.
Why does Grumpy have to go to the eye doctor?
Because I read center. I looked at center and I said defense.
Grumpy's eyes are going. Either his eyes or his brain. Brain or eye doctor. Eye doctor is easier than a brain doctor. We'll start there first.
It's the cataracts and the dementia.
Gungun.
Should the Islanders have offered more money for Dobber? When Dog Z is served steak dinner, does he slobber?
Okay, if they're going to be rebuilding and getting rid of people, I don't have an issue with them trading Dobson. I was underwhelmed with the return. I think Dobson's worth $10 million a year. I've said that to begin with 3 years ago. Everybody looked at him as crazy, but I think he's worth $10 million a year. I think that's a steal of a deal. I think Montreal's contract that they gave him and what they gave up was a steal for Montreal. I think that was a great move by Montreal.
So let me ask a question. For that trade, do you value the players that the Islanders ended up getting with the draft picks higher than Dobson?
No.
So you think Dobson has better value than the players that they draft?
With draft picks, even if they're guys who slip, and I like the value that we select him in, and I do, you gave up a defenseman who put up 70 points and is usually around a 50-point-a-year defenseman. You gave him up for 2 middle first-round picks in a weak draft. That's not good. Simple as that. And you gave up a guy who has already done it and shown what he can be for 2 that maybe they can play in the NHL. Maybe they don't even make it to the NHL. That's not a good deal for us, I don't think. And they got away with just giving up 2 draft picks and not anybody of talent and consequence on the team. Not a good move by us.
You're trading a high-end talent for but maybes. I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
I'll say if they pan out, though, I think you'd have to say that you still wouldn't give that as a solid pick if they pan out.
And Eklund is a 60-point scorer, and Atchison is
an enforcer defenseman.
Yeah, then I think it's worth it. But you're talking about 5-6 years down the line for something like that.
But what I'm saying is the current state that the team's in, though, they're not going to be good until 5-6 years down the line, right?
Correct. Or to be top level.
Yeah.
You don't see young 25-year-old top-pairing defensemen who put up 70 points in a season, who are top 10 in point production over the last 4 years for defenders, traded, who are 25 years old. You don't see that happen often, and they did that, and they only got back 2 middle first-round picks and a bottom 6 guy. It just wasn't enough return.
They should have done better on their turn, because I look at the player they got is just
that's nothing. Yeah,
he's a bottom 6 guy. Who cares? They're a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to stay though. You want to play for a winner.
I agree with that.
I think that's what it comes down to.
I was just wondering if you guys valued the selections that they made. Maybe it changed your
I
opinion.
like the selections, but they're not more valuable than Dobson.
Gotcha.
And Dogsy absolutely slobbers. He's
Loves
disgusting.
any food he loves.
It doesn't have to be steak, anything. Stop It says, yes, Grumpy, NHL vets don't play hard unless they're in the playoffs. We need the team that can get through the season easier. Yeah, well, that's the way it is, right? Drew says, Grumpy, I'm a better reader than both of you. Also, Grumpy, center equals defenseman. Wicked 50 Cal says, Luria is slightly overager, but at least we didn't make mistakes like we did in prior drafts with Newkirk, Maggio, Koffler.
Dufour. He's a superstar. Maggio is a superstar. Let's draft all the overagers that have 0% chance of ever playing in the NHL.
Yep. And it all panned out. None of them could. Freedom Bonaventure goes, and once again, not every pick is going to pan out. It just isn't. Freedom Bonaventure goes, Islanders finally are doing everything most of us wanted to do for a long time, and now TJ can't talk about them.
I know. That's the worst part about it.
Yeah.
No, he'll still be talking. He'll still be talking. Not his face won't be here, but
he'll be on Twitter.
He'll be on Twitter.
Freedom Bonaventure goes, as the Islanders are trading away the remaining country club members between now and the draft, they need to bring back a right-handed defenseman. That's going to be Tony DeAngelo. I'm certain they're going to re-sign him back. Drew says, it feels quite weird. It's almost like the darkness of Lou has slowly started to fade away. Even Steve Dangle said it's funny how the Islanders immediately become interesting after firing Lou. Stop It says, you go, Grumpy. Too bad these elitists will never play with heart. These guys turn pro, and after 3 years, that's it. It's hit or miss. True.
I think some guys still have dog in them, but
Islanders have to hold on to Mayfield. His stock just went up. No. Now is when you move him. He's 32 or 33-year-old defenseman. He was a healthy scratch a lot of nights for Patrick Waugh. If you can get yourself a first-round pick or a couple of seconds for him, you move him. He's a bottom-pairing defenseman. Rick Romer says, so Grumpy did a lot of resets on these prospects, and the only one he said absolutely sucks is Hagens. Weird. I didn't say sucks.
You just said you didn't
say
like
sucks. Stop It says, when is the blue and white game? Don't know, but I know they're going to have a rookie camp this year, which Lou never had. Program this. TJ, we love you.
You don't have to lie.
Drew says, if Darsh is truly telling the truth about his supposed no rebuild, no retool, he would sign Nikolai Ehlers. I hope he doesn't, but we'll see. Ehlers is not coming here. Stop It says, we still can get Howard from Tampa. I hope Darsh pulls that off. Okay. Jake Kiriako says, do you guys think that if Lou were still the GM, that Dobson would still be on the team? Something to consider is that Lou does not like trading players. He keeps them to a fault. I think they very possibly would have kept him.
I think he would have paid him $10 million, which is probably the asking price on that.
Yeah. I think he would have tried. I don't think he would have paid 11, but I think he would. But you don't know. Maybe they don't want to pay anybody above what Barzell's making. I don't know. Freedom Bonaventure goes, TJ, since you're abandoning us, please don't make me regret asking, what would make you happy to see for the Islanders between now and next year's draft? That's a good question.
Sell at least bare minimum Anders Lee and Jean-Gabriel Pageau at next year's deadline.
UFAs.
That is the bare minimum that would make me happy. I don't care how we finish in the regular season. I don't care where we are at the trade deadline. Those two must be sold at the deadline. Simple as that.
Stop It says, 2019, 20, and 21 were some pretty awesome seasons.
Yep, absolutely.
You're absolutely competitive in those seasons. Greg Frost says, TJ, go or stay, but enough games already. Today's it for TJ. Program This says, can someone tell me why TJ is leaving? It's really upsetting. He was my favorite with Grumpy.
Have to. Can't tell you too much, but have to leave.
Rain says, and it's not because he's getting kicked off YouTube or anything like that.
He's getting
Rain says, so happy for you Islander fans. The turnaround over the last few months is insane. Franchise changing. If they continue to build this, y'all will be good real soon. I love that positive attitude. Thank you, Rain. Jay Snow says, Florida doesn't need Bennett to put up points during the regular season. They're so deep. True.
playoff time.
That's right. He got paid based on what he did for playoffs. We did. And like I said, He's great. State of Survival says, how are these teams making money in such a garbage economy? Can people even afford tickets? You're seeing these tickets that they're starting to price out families.
Yeah.
Seen that for a while now, right?
It's all corporate. It's all more and more corporate as time continues. And these areas that are operating up in New York and your Los Angeles and stuff like that, the ticket prices are insane. The concessions are insane. They're adding more games, and there's still a portion of people who can afford to pay, and they're paying.
Think about it. The Dodgers is like $36 for a beer. It's insane. Incredible.
Tarek H. Sharaf says, what do you think of Brock Besser? I think he's going to get overpaid. I like him as a player. I don't think he's going to be worth what he gets paid.
Wouldn't that be the worst case scenario if we signed Brock Besser to a multi-year deal to pair him up with Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal?
How many years?
Anything more than 4 is bad.
He's going to get at least 5.
6, I think, is probably what he's going to get years-wise.
But again, how old is he? I like Brock Besser. I do. I like Bo Horvat. I do. I just don't think they're top-line guys, either one of them.
28.
You're paying a middle-line guy 8.5 in Horvat.
28 years old.
I just said.
If I you know what? If you want to give him a 5-year deal, okay. If you're really committed to moving out Pajot and Lee at the end of the year, you'll have the money for that. The one that really bothers me is signing Palmieri back, 34-year-old winger. No. Could I see them going after Brock Besser? Yes, I could. Jay Snow says Tavares scored 38 goals. Yeah, he was good this year, really good.
A million times better than Kyle Palmieri.
Rick Roma says Hagens is entitled because of some offhand comment, but y'all want Isaac Howard, who wants out of Tampa Bay because they won't guarantee him a spot in the top 6 and he won't go to the AHL. I never said that. I said he appears to be entitled with those comments. I didn't say he was entitled. I said he appears to. I'm not infiltrating draft assets. If you're looking for Isaac Howard and you can give up a 2027 4th-round pick for him or 3rd-round pick, I'm willing to do that because of his age.
My thing is, what was even the purpose of him mentioning a team that wanted to pick him?
Well, he didn't mention it, but he inferred it. And I was also on the record
somewhere that wanted us, or I went somewhere that wanted me, right? Isn't that what he said?
I'm glad I'm going to a team that really wanted me.
Okay, that's taking a shot at the Islanders. Absolutely is. It's taking a shot.
And I also said, Rick, that if Hagens had slipped to 16, I would have drafted him. I didn't want to give a bunch of assets for him, though. Freedom Front Bench goes, you were trying to okay, it's not you was, it's you were. That's right. I'm the grammar police right now. You were trying to figure out what type of work TJ could do with his personality, prone to meltdowns, lack of reading, math, historical and technical skills, prison guard, and why he can't do his show.
A mean prison guard is what I am.
Rick Rowan says Tampa Bay going to make him go back to college if they don't get a second. Howard is also being really picky about what team he wants to be traded to. Yeah, I always said it was always confusing. And Rick, if you listen to other shows, we talked about this before. I was always why would you not want to play for Tampa? Particularly because, okay, you think you would have to have a top 6 spot. They got a lot of players who are going to be aging out pretty soon. It doesn't make sense why you wouldn't want to play for Tampa. I always question that about him. Have I not, DJ, from day one? Yeah. The Wicked 50 Cal said Jeff Marek said that he thinks the Islanders are trying to move Mayfield. Okay, good. He's a bottom pairing guy. You don't need a bottom pairing guy for another 5 years. State of Survival says, what is our blue line going to look like next year? If they don't trade Mayfield, it will be Mayfield and it'll be Pulak and Pelech, Romanoff and D'Angelo, unless they put Pulak. Oh, my God. You can't have Pelech and Romanoff. And it's got to be D'Angelo and Romanoff, Pulak and Pelech, Mayfield and Riley. That would be my 6. Stop it, says Grumpy. Stop it. Dobson sucks. Look at the power play. We sucked with Dobson at the point. We sucked before Dobson was on the point. We sucked after Dobson was off the point when he was hurt. It's not Dobson's fault. Everything is not Dobson's fault. Sorry. Frank from Empire State says, hit the thumbs up, way up. Please do help us. Please, please, please. Rick Sommer says, great draft, and I'm a Rangers fan. Thank you very much, Rick. Richard, I also agree. Rangers, I think they underwhelmed. I think they know they're in rebuild too. And that's okay. Okay, Donald Trump here.
We've got a few here. It says Lou on June 30th during his final interview and asked why Darsh recouped so many draft picks for Dobson.
Oh, I know what he's going to say.
That they don't know what they're doing. Do you understand that?
They don't know what they're doing. And then here it is. Grumpy, I read better than both of you. Also Grumpy.
Quick titch. Quick titch. That's second time I've mentioned that. Quick titch. Quick. It's two. I messed it up twice today. I knew it. Quick twitch. For some reason, I messed that up every single time.
Twitch.
There were some. Let me tell you something. Everybody has words that they struggle with when they
up with, yeah.
Everyone does. Another one for me was used to be. I said something was. I said constellation. It wasn't constellation. It was consolation. And quick twitch is just one of those quick twitch. Quick twitch. Yeah. For me, it is anyway.
Let's quickly move on to the next comment.
What a failed attempt at comedy.
All right. Stop it says, get over it. No power play because Dobson sucks. No. What were they with Tony D'Angelo on the power play? 0 for what?
0 for 13 or 0 for 11. It was fucking awful.
Ryan Richards says, TJ looks like Phil Kessel.
He's on the Diet Coke diet.
Freedom Fundamental says, and Ryan Richards, wow, low blow. I make fun of TJ a lot, but you just crossed the Rubicon. Freedom Fundamental says, there is no way I would trade Sorokin, maybe when he is old, but I love watching how phenomenal he is. Tavares lied, and I'll hate him forever. If he wasn't lying and manipulating Wong, the GM would deal. The team wanted to keep him. They did. Freedom Fundamental says, I would prefer if Schaefer went to college. He's the youngest guy in the draft and needs to play a ton. 100% agree.
Yep.
You're only going to be able to do that for 1 year, though. Only 1 year.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it looks like we are wrapping here at this.
Thomas Rudy said he'd get right move on Hagens. Never overpay for anything, especially for sentimental bullshit.
That's it. That was it in a nutshell for me.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I'm rooting against him now. I absolutely am.
Let's wrap up today's show.
Okay.
Grumpy, X, we want to say before we end the show tonight.
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from the last time, TJ, Son X, and the Grumpy Old Man.
And I just want to appreciate everybody for coming out. Love the interaction, the comments as always. Love you guys supporting the show and the channel, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much for watching today's podcast live stream. I have not uploaded the live streams in a podcast for a while. I'm going to get caught up on that. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe I'll get caught up all the way tomorrow.
Dude. Not doing anything else.
I know I've got like 4 that I haven't uploaded yet, so I'm going to slowly upload them up. But I know they're kind of time sensitive, but I need to probably put them up online. So thank you for your patience. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show here today. A+ of an Islanders draft. Thank you so much, Grumpy. Thank you so much, X. Thanks for everybody commenting in. And this is my last time signing off. Great Islanders draft. Hopefully a great direction we're headed in. And as I said before, get ready for whatever they want to brand it as, but we're taking a step back to go forward. And that's all we've always been asking for. Take steps backwards to reload up with younger players, more talented players, so we can be more.
Just say goodbye.
More talent. I love how this motherfucker wants to rush me off now. My last time.
I can't believe you haven't uploaded the last 4 podcasts.
Yeah.
So, like, what the hell?
You should keep quiet over there, huh? You can go and talking about, which words, quick twitch and all the other words that you fuck up. All right, just calm down for a second. All right. I'll say this here. Finishing up, I do think they're going to go ahead and retool, restructure, rebuild. Doesn't matter. That's my take on it. Thanks so much for everybody watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Next time.